Sports Radio is back.
McDavid trying to come in with speed. Here he comes. McDavid shoots. Top shelf. He scores! The Oilers captain with the overtime winner.
The Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Pretty good contact here as he hits it to deep right, and he's hit it out. Now that's a birthday present that George Springer just gave himself, and the Blue Jays have the early lead.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Howe slinging it to the end zone. Was it caught? Yes! McLaurin! Touchdown!
Well, a terrific Tuesday afternoon. How are you? Welcome to the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440, coming to you live at Oilers Nation YouTube channel. Check it out. Hit the subscribe button. Your chance. Going to give away a pair of tickets to tomorrow's preseason action. Will be the first preseason game this year for McDavid and Draisaitl going up against the Canucks. Can the Oilers put up a 10 spot on them? You never know. Hey, speaking of putting up goose eggs, the Oilers put up one last night in Winnipeg. Not a real shock when you look at the roster that they had dressed for that game in Winnipeg. It's a reminder that preseason, it's not about results, right? They'll look at certain players. You know, Raphael Lavoie, we'll get into him and a few others a little bit later on. Remind you that the Gregor Show, as always, is presented by PlayAlberta.ca. They now feature hundreds of player props from the biggest leagues on the planet: football, hockey, basketball, baseball. Sign up today and use the promo code SPORTS50 and you'll get a $50 free bet. So check it out right now at playalberta.ca. Of course, the Jays back in action tonight as they try to clinch a playoff berth. They can't do it tonight, but they are getting closer. Take care of business against the Yankees, win at least 2 out of 3, and they should be in a very good spot for the final weekend of the regular season, and then move on to the playoffs because they'll face Tampa Bay in the final 3 games of the year, and they should be probably playing Tampa Bay in the first round of the playoffs, and Tampa Bay is banged up. So we'll talk about that. Also, of course, the Oilers, what did you make of that game last night for those of you that watched it? There wasn't a lot of positives to pull out of it. Let's be real. Right, there wasn't a whole bunch of positives. I don't know if there was any individuals that really stood out. I thought Lavoie had a decent game. Like, he didn't show poorly. I noticed him, and that's what you want. Sure, you'd love to score, no question about it. But overall, I thought it was okay. You know, Broberg made some plays at times. Right? Philip Broberg's game is not one that I think is going to necessarily be standing out offensively, and as long as he doesn't stand out defensively in a negative way, then it's okay. But I think it's obvious, and now that the organization, hey, you're going to give Broberg every opportunity to show well here in the preseason. But if he doesn't, to me, like I've said before, I think he has to outplay Vincent Desharnais. I really do, because the Oilers, this is not about where you were drafted. It doesn't matter. Honestly, it doesn't matter. I think it matters more to some fans. We're like, yeah, but we wasted a pick on Broberg. It's not a wasted pick. He's not a bust yet. It's not a sprint. But if Desharnais, who's a right shot defenseman, is better suited to play right defense more than Broberg to start, that's just how it goes. And that doesn't mean that Philip Broberg, now, he hasn't had as quick of a start to his NHL career as Matt Boldy and some other players. That's fair. But that doesn't mean he's a bust. There's 2 different conversations here. 2 different conversations. I think saying he's a bust, honestly, is one of the more idiotic statements I've heard. If you want to be frustrated and say, oh, I wish I would have taken this guy, fine. But to call him a bust is simply false, and it's grossly, grossly premature. Right? That's a fact. So if there's anybody that you liked or maybe didn't like, there's not a lot of guys who are really in the running to get a spot on the team. right? Like, did Adam Ernie do anything for you to say, geez, I think this guy's really going to push? Not really. Right? Kulak and Cece, they were okay. Not horrible, not great. That's a pair that, won't be playing top pair minutes for the most part. I'm not even sure there'll be a pair in the regular season. We'll have to see. If Bouchard and Nurse are going to start the season together, nothing wrong with that. Actually, I can see why you'd try it. Keep in mind that then Bouchard's going to play a lot of tough minutes, and that's okay. But that's just goes hand in hand when you partner up with Darnell Nurse. You're going to face a lot of the top minutes of other teams. I'm pretty sure Darnell Nurse has played the most minutes against elite forwards the last few seasons in the NHL. Check it out at puckiq.com. You can find it out there. So we'll get your thoughts in the text line. 833-401-1440 is where you can text the show. We are going to get some questions. Big fantasy trade I want to talk about today. Also, NFL last night. I wouldn't say it was a star-studded games by any stretch, right? Philadelphia takes care of business over Tampa Bay. They look good. That's not a surprise. But Cincy, hey, they got to win, and at this point, that's all that matters. But that was far from a riveting game by any stretch, right? 19-16 over the Rams. I needed T. Higgins to get me one catch for 3 yards in the last 25 minutes of the game. Didn't happen. One catch for 3 yards. Are you kidding me, T. Higgins? Come on. Brutal. Anyway, I'm sure some of you are in the same boat. Other news and notes. Ryder Cup will talk a little golf today on the show. Should be nice. Sean Brown will be by, of course. Former NHLer. Get his thoughts on a lot of stuff. Get his evaluation of some of the young D-men, for sure. Also, we will preview some NFL, kind of recap the weekend, look ahead. How about this? There's 4 teams that are winless, and they're all playing each other. Well, I shouldn't say they're all. They're 2 games involving the winless team. So, barring ties, there will still be 2 teams looking for their first win after week 4. Dave McCarthy, we'll talk all things NHL in the 3 o'clock hour. Struddy will be by with Struds on at 4:20. We got Spec, DVD. Also, Jason Wad will join us. We're going to talk a little golf. Also, some fundraising opportunities for your sports team locally. We'll get to all that coming up at around 2:40 on the show today. Text already coming in. 833-401-1440 in our Jiffy Lube inbox. Stop in today for a full synthetic Pennzoil Platinum oil change. And when you do, you're going to get a $20 digital gift card for one of 30 different merchants. You get to pick which one you want. Support local. Go to jiffylubeservice.ca. Hey, boys, how does Broberg's development compare to Clefbaum? That one comes in from Tony M. Tony, it's that's an interesting question because Clefbaum, if you recall, was a 19th pick in the first round in 2011. And then after his draft year, he played 33 games. And the following season, he was in Sweden again. He got hurt. He only played 11. So he played 2 years in Sweden after being drafted. So kind of like a kid, let's say, from North America, then spends 2 more years in junior. That's essentially what happened, except he was playing pro hockey in Sweden, but only played a total of 44 games in those 2 years. Then he came to Edmonton and really started the season in OKC, did get up at the end of his 3rd year. He got into 17 NHL games. And then the following season, he started in the American League and then came up and played 60 games in year 4, and then he was a regular. Keep in mind that he joined a bad team, right? That's the difference. There wasn't an experienced Darnell Nurse, Matthias Ekholm, and Brent Kulak ahead of him on the left side. So Broberg was drafted in 2019. Then he played 2 years in Sweden, exact same as Clefbaum. Then he came over to the NHL. He played 31 in the American League and 23 for the Edmonton Oilers. So if you look, Clefbaum had played 17. Broberg played 23. Then the next year, Broberg played 46. Clefbaum played 60. And then the third season in the NHL for Klefbom, he played 30 games and got hurt. So if you look at it from now Klefbom did have 20 points in his 60 games. Broberg had 8 in 46. So a little bit more offense from Klefbom. Unfortunately for Klefbom, you know what? That injury, he had his shoulder injury before. Then he got hurt in 2016. Then he did play the whole full season in 2017. That was his best year in the NHL, no question about it. And the Oilers were good. So it's close, but the difference is Oscar Klefbom was on a team that did not have guys that he had to beat out. Right? There weren't 3 experienced left defensemen ahead of him on the depth charts. He came in on a team that made the playoffs. If you look at Klefbom, in 2014, they weren't a playoff team. In 2015, they weren't a playoff team. In 2016, they weren't a playoff team. 2018 and 19. So 5 of his first 6 years, they weren't a playoff team. Broberg, they've been a playoff team his first 2 years, and obviously they're going to be a playoff team this year in his third. So to me, that's the difference. When you look at their development, I think it's fair that you have to at least acknowledge that Phil Broberg's coming in on a harder lineup to crack than Oscar Klefbom. Now, that doesn't mean that he can't play better. Don't get me wrong. I just did. Hey, guys, I actually like Pickard despite the score from Steven Drumheller. Yeah, I thought he played fine. Right? He's, you know what? I thought Rodrigue played really well. You know what? The Oilers' AHL goaltenders look pretty solid. Nothing wrong with that. So, hey, Gregor, if a player lets his entry-level contract lapse without re-signing, is he a free agent or does his drafted team still own part of him? Well, it's essentially when your entry-level contract comes up, like Raphael Lavoie, a team can qualify you. And if they qualify you, they still maintain your rights. If they opt not to qualify you, then you're a free agent. That's how it works. You don't just magically get to become a free agent. If the team, they either choose to qualify you. If they don't, then you can become a free agent. That's how it works. So keep in mind, like drafted players who haven't signed are different. NCAA players who don't sign with the team after a third or fourth year, depending on their age and when they're drafted, all those sorts of things, they can become an unrestricted free agent. If you were drafted out of the CHL and then do not sign a contract for 2 years, then you would go back in the draft. And if you're too old, then you would become a free agent. It doesn't happen very often. The latter one, guys going back into the draft because they were unable to sign a contract with their team, that's happened. So that's how it goes. So right? If they don't qualify you, you're a UFA. Like look at Raphael Lavoie, for instance. The Oilers, his entry-level contract ended. The Oilers sent him a qualifying offer. And once they qualify him, they would maintain his rights. Now, he opted to sign the qualifying offer. You could not sign it, and then you negotiate another contract. Those are really the options on how it works. Cons, what did you make of I know you were down at the brew house, North End, yesterday, giving away that food platter, not food platter, but like the barbecue package. That's pretty unreal.
So he was probably a little bit upset with how the Cowboys performed over the weekend, but he won free meat and a chance to go to the Super Bowl in Vegas. So yeah, it was a kind of a boring night in the NFL, if we're being totally honest. I mean, the Rams-Bengals game was just boring. 2 touchdowns. That's not what we're expecting out of Joe Burrow and Matthew Stafford, 2 teams that met in the Super Bowl just a couple of years ago. Philadelphia, I think for them, they just got the job done, did what they had to do. DeAndre Swift, he was just slicing up that Buccaneers defense. That Philadelphia offense is fun to watch. Obviously, we know they've got the receiving options. Now they're starting to show they could run the football. Yeah. They're going to be certainly a dangerous team. It seems like we've got the meeting of the Niners and the Eagles in that NFC Championship game. Just pencil it in, because those are the 2 best teams in that conference. But yeah, overall, always a good time at the Canadian Brew House, even though the game wasn't too good. That capped it all off.
Well, you look at next Monday night, it'll be down to a single game. The Seahawks and the Giants will be the Monday nighter. This Thursday, pretty big game. I think the Lions and the Packers, that actually should be a pretty entertaining game.
Yeah. Big implications, that one too. I mean, the Packers not out of it. The Lions obviously trying to win that division for the first time in a long time. That's a big game.
Yeah, but without a doubt, the game of the week is Miami and Buffalo. No question. That should be a slobber knocker of a game. No question.
100%. Yeah, say another one though with that divisional implication. Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun to see if Josh Allen can match up with Tua in that offense in Miami.
Hey, Jason, please remind Connor that Tua is Justin Herbert's daddy from Dustin.
Okay.
Hey, Tua's playing really well, buddy.
Tua's playing. Hey, if they had Justin Herbert in that offense, they would have scored 80.
Oh, come on.
Because Justin Herbert can throw it further than 50 yards. Never forget.
Oh, geez.
I love Tua. I don't know why I'm getting the hate. I support Tua. I'm not a Tua basher.
Yeah. Are you saying Tua's arm, he can't throw more than 50?
I think there's a cap to how far he can throw it. If he could throw it over 50, the Dolphins would have won by multiple points against the Chargers. Multiple scores.
How often do you need to throw it 50 yards in the air? Realistically.
I mean, if you have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, you should do it a lot, I think.
Okay.
Although they seem to score 70 points without doing that.
I was just saying, he just put up 70 points, which hasn't happened since 1966. And you're saying, well, if Herbert was there. Yeah. But the other thing I noticed was Miami's doing something that no other teams are doing is the amount of times they're putting guys in motion. You saw Troy Aikman talking about essentially kind of, it's not the CFL waggle, but it's pretty close. And why aren't more teams doing this? Like the CFL has been doing this for years. Now you're allowed to do it to the extent, but it's just like Miami's like, oh, we have fast receivers. Well, the NFL's always had fast receivers. It's kind of mind blowing to me, but you watch, I think there's going to be a massive amount of teams saying, okay, like if you're the Minnesota Vikings and you look at Addison and Jefferson, why aren't you doing the same?
I don't know. I really don't, because we talked about it after week 1 when Tyreek Hill went just absolutely crazy against the Chargers. I don't know how you stop it. You try to play press coverage on that, you're likely going to get burned. You sit back 10 yards knowing that he's going to be going downfield with the whole head of steam, and he's just going to break it off, and then he's going to, humiliate you after the catch. So I don't know why more teams haven't started to do it. Every team seems to have one of those 4-3, 40 guys on their roster, whether it's a kick returner or a receiver. Tyreek Hill's obviously going to make it look a lot easier than it is, but I would say that in the next little while, we're going to see that a lot more.
Yeah, like look at Cincinnati. You got Higgins, you got Jamar Chase. Do it more often. Like figure it out. The playbook is there. The blueprint is there on what Miami's doing, and it's exceptional. And not only that, it really helps their run attack. Like you look at the numbers and what they're doing on running plays when they have guys in motion, and they're absolutely killing it. And they're doing it way more frequently. So those are some things. We'll go a little bit deeper on that and more in the NFL. Day off today for the Edmonton Oilers. They'll be on the ice tomorrow, getting set to take on the Vancouver Canucks. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are expected to make their preseason debuts tomorrow. If you're going to the game and if you want to go to the game, go hit the subscribe button to Oilers Nation YouTube channel, because we'll give away a pair of seats for that. As you're listening to the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca, live on Sports 1440.
PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated gambling website, features a variety of responsible gambling tools such as a time clock, deposit limits, and more. Remember, if you gamble, use your game sense. Visit GameSenseAB.ca to find out more.
For a limited time at McDonald's, enjoy the tasty breakfast trio. Your choice of sausage or chicken McMuffin or McGriddles with a hash brown and a small premium roast coffee for $5 plus tax. Available before 11 a.m. at participating McDonald's restaurants in Canada.
What's cracking at Cattail Crossing Golf and Winter Club? Kick off your week with unbeatable savings. Enjoy half-price golf from Monday to Thursday. Elevate your game without emptying your wallet. Book your tee time today. CattailCrossing.ca.
At The Brick, we're not just proud of this city and its rich sports history. We're proud partners of it. The Brick started right here in Edmonton over 50 years ago. And when we're not cheering on the Oilers and Oil Kings live at the game, or the Edmonton Elks under the bright stadium lights, we're in our stores, providing everything you need to cheer them on in your home. The Brick, supporting Edmonton sports teams and fans since 1971, saving you more.
Actions speak louder than words. Japa Machinery Group puts your construction plan into action with XCMG construction machinery you need. Available for rental or sale. Learn more at japamachinery.com.
Christensen Communities, the name in active adult living. Enjoy retirement living without compromise. At Christensen, we understand that each lifestyle is unique. We are committed to providing choice through optional dining, personal services, recreation programs, and care plans to suit your current and future needs. Enjoy maintenance-free living and build new friendships in a safe, independent community. Large suites with full kitchens and in-suite laundry, on-site amenities, and so much more. Find out more today about our communities across the province at cdlhomes.com.
Edmonton's premium live music and party venue is
On the Rocks.
Check out Bingo Tunes on Monday. Perform on the best stage in town with karaoke on Wednesdays. Learn how to salsa with Salsa Rocks on Thursdays. And every weekend, OTR goes live.
With your favorite bands on the OTR stage and DJ Kenny K.
For everything that's going on at On the Rocks, give us a follow.
Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.
At On the Rocks, EDM.
Eat well, party hard.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks. Open every day till 2 a.m. Mr. Rooter hits the links.
So I tell the guy, it's leaking because you have a hole-in-one.
Hey, Mr. Rooter, you have a better chance of hitting the green with a crescent wrench, you bum.
Oh, boy. It's my rival, Mr. Plunger.
You swing a club like you plumb. Lousy.
Lousy, eh? Hey, Mr. Plunger, there's a clog down there that even you could fix.
For a plumber you can trust, call Mr. Rooter.
Drive into fall with some sweet savings at Cross Mitsubishi. Right now, get 0% on all in-stock 2023 Mitsubishis. That right there, my friends, are the best rates in the country. And to make things even better, don't pay until 2024. Plus, winter tires included with all new 2023 and 2024 Mitsubishi models. And so is an upgraded 10-year, 200,000-kilometer new vehicle limited warranty. Find these great deals and so many more at Cross Mitsubishi, 34th Avenue and 96th Street, or crosswithak
At jackpotcity.net, you can do amazing things with just one casino chip. Discover a world of incredible casino games with over 500 high-quality online slot games, including the world-renowned progressive jackpot slot Mega Moolah. Play for free at jackpotcity.net and get treated as a VIP 24/7. So visit jackpotcity.net today on your tablet, laptop, or mobile. Jackpot City, a whole world of casino games. 18 plus. Please play responsibly.
How do you
This is
say
not a
Ted's
gambling
last
website.
name? Newen? So there's no G. Welcome back. Tuesday afternoon on the Jason Gregor Show. Sean Brown, of course, our Tuesday co-host, will be by. Con's still working out the ghost of the board, eh? What was that? Was that a sign? Was that a ding that we're ready to roll?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah. It's nice. Don't worry. Hey, I haven't said the former 3 letters once this week, so that's a big step in the right direction. So we'll see. Of course, it's only Tuesday. Is the Gregor Show on Sports 1440, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. It's time now for the NFL report, brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. No overtime charges. If all of a sudden furnace conks out in the middle of the night, call Legacy. They'll come fix it. No overtime charges at legacyheating.ca. And to break down more of the NFL, Ted Newen joins us from The Athletic. Ted, welcome to the show, my man. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. I'm really good. I would be better if the Bengals offense would throw the ball to Higgins, just one catch for 3 yards. It's all I needed in the last 25 minutes, but it didn't happen, Ted. But I am interested when I look at a team like Cincinnati, when I look at their receivers, and then I look at the Vikings with their receivers, and then you see what the Miami Dolphins are doing, and they haven't taken a page out of the CFL playbook per se, but it's somewhat similar. They're getting guys in motion, and it's not only helping them in the receiving game, it's really helping their run game. How long do you think before other teams are like, we've got to follow this and do the same thing in our offense?
No, it's already happening. You see it all over the league. The Niners are doing it. The Rams are doing it. All the Shanahan McVay disciples are putting it in their playbook. So I see it a ton around the league already. So teams are already copying it. It's not quite as effective, when you have Tyreek Hill who runs a 4-2 doing it. But teams are taking advantage of it, and it's creating spaces, and it's giving defenses a headache to try to adjust to it.
Yeah, like they are doing it, but they're not even doing it remotely at the same frequency, right? Like there was a chart I saw, and like Miami is the massive outlier way up there, like on 50% of their run plays, they're even doing it. So it's not just helping the receiving game, it's really helping the running game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, motion was always a big part of Shanahan and McDaniel's system. But this new kind of out motion it happens so quickly that defenses don't really have a chance to adjust to it. And, sometimes they're over adjusting to it now, and it's creating lanes for the running game. So it's pretty fun to see. And yeah, Miami is just way out there as far as committing to using motions. And, it's not just as easy as copy and pasting. You have to have an idea of how defenses are going to adjust out of motion in order to take advantage of it, which is why it's hard to emulate exactly what they do, but teams are copying it in smaller doses.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a lot of work. Maybe it's an off-season project, but I suspect due to the success they're having, like 70 points, Ted. I know I saw some people complaining, it's embarrassing your opponent. Give me a break. What your backups are supposed, they're paid to play the game. They don't get in very often. So I loved it. And I wonder if this is a small sign that, we saw it last year. There's a big uptick in offense. And really it's been for the last decade, just to some of the rule changes, but even more now, we're seeing more teams gamble on 4th and short and different times, different places on the field than ever before. I think offense is going to continue to rise, and with it, just the creativity of it. And I don't know if it's fair or not, but do you think it's like, can old coaches have success, I guess, unless they're willing to really change?
No, I think, obviously there's value in old school thinking and some tenets in the NFL, but it's the coaches that are embracing analytics, that are embracing modern schematics. Those are the guys that are going to, keep pushing the game forward, and the guys that keep refusing to are going to be left behind. And I did a story talking to several analytics departments and coaches around the league, and there are even older coaches that are starting to learn about analytics and starting to put that into use too. So it seems like everybody's moving forward a little bit. I don't think there's many guys that are just refusing to look at analytics at all, but there are some guys that are moving towards it a little more slowly, and they're just not giving that edge to their team.
Ted Nguyen joins us from The Athletic. The Broncos, the Bears, the Panthers, and the Vikings are all 0-3. The Bears and the Broncos just got absolutely crushed this past weekend. They all play each other. The Bears versus the Broncos, the Vikings versus the Panthers. I don't think it's a shock that the Bears are 0-3. It's disappointing, yes. But to me, the most disappointing 0-3 team, not the worst team, but the most disappointing has to be the Vikings, because they have more talent. They shouldn't be 0-3.
Yeah, but I think if you paid attention to last year and how they were 11-1 in close games, and they had such unbelievably good turnover luck that you could kind of see that regression coming. You could kind of see that because that's usually what happens when the team has really good luck in one year when it comes to close games and turnovers and that kind of thing. The next year that reverses. And regression has come to hit the Vikings like a speeding train, and all those breaks that they got, all that the turnover luck that they had last season is reversed on them, and they're not getting those breaks, and they're losing games because of it. And that's just kind of how it goes. That the Vikings were an incomplete team last year, and they might even be a thinner roster defensively this year. So. It is disappointing, especially with the record they had last year, but you could kind of see it coming if you paid attention to the numbers.
If you look at the Broncos, man, like I remember when they made that trade, there's lots of people saying, I think Russell Wilson's best days are behind him. And others like, no, he's going to come in. And yeah, they struggle, but now they brought in Sean Payton and things are going to be way better. Well, 3 games in, Ted, it hasn't looked much better. It's arguably looked worse. What is wrong in Denver? And can Russell Wilson salvage this season personally and as a leader on that team?
Yeah, I don't think Russ will ever reach the level of play that he had in Seattle. I don't think he'll ever live up to that contract. But I do think he has played better this season. We see flashes of the old Russ. His numbers are better. He's not turning the ball over as much. He's not getting sacked as much. He's actually playing really well when the plays are scripted. The first 15 plays that teams usually script in the beginning of the game, and then after the script, he's kind of struggled. But I don't think the offense is the big problem in Denver. It's the defense. Last year, under Evero, defensive coordinator that went to the Panthers in the offseason, they were a top 5 defense. And this year, with close to the same roster, they are nowhere near that level of defense. They are a bottom tier defense, maybe one of the worst in the league, after being one of the best last year. And, they just gave up 70 points against Miami. So the offense is slightly better. I mean, there's a very low ceiling they could reach. I don't think they're going to ever be considered good, but they have played better. But the defense has just been atrocious. And I think that's one of the biggest surprises of the year so far.
Ted Nguyen joins us. Ted, there's 4 teams winless. There's 3 teams undefeated. The Dolphins, the 49ers, and the Eagles. Who's the best?
I like the Niners. I think the Niners are a top team just because of how well-rounded they are defensively. Their run game obviously is one of the best, and obviously they're not the explosive passing team that the Dolphins are. But Brock Purdy is an upgrade over Jimmy Garoppolo. I think he actually has gotten better than he was last year. Obviously, kind of a natural progression going from a rookie to second-year player. I think there's room for him to improve, and I think teams are it's hard not to put them up there, the Dolphins up there, when they just scored 70 points. But like I said, I think the Broncos defense is pretty bad, and things kind of snowballed. And I don't want to give them too many props for a one game outlier. I think they're going to score a lot of points, but they're not going to put up 70. If they do well against a very good Bills pass defense, I could put them over the Niners, but right now I just think the Niners are a better, more well-rounded team.
Well, they look really good. Is there anything about Miami, like their offense is obviously wickedly good. Is there anything about Miami that gives you concern?
Last year it was their offensive line, but I actually think that they've improved on the offensive line, especially as run blockers. You can't just sit back and pass defense, because then if you do that, they could run the ball on you like they did against Denver. They almost got 300 yards rushing against them. But I would say pass protection. I think if you could make Tua hold the ball, can the offensive line protect him? But it's hard to do because he anticipates as good as anybody in the league right now, and guys are getting open as fast as anybody in the league right now. But if you can make him hold the ball and pause, can you get to him? I think that's a question that is yet to be answered.
Ted Nguyen joins us on Sports 1440 and live on Oilers Nation YouTube. Ted, it's funny because there's lots of teams that I'm not really sure they could go either way. Like the Cowboys look great in the first 2 weeks and then, not so great against Arizona. Arizona, you look at the record in the first 2 weeks, people thought, well, geez, you know what? They could have won those games. They played fairly well and lost. But then they found a way to beat Dallas. Who are kind of some of those 2-1 or 1-2 teams that, first of all, that you think are a legit team that's going to be even better than what their current record states?
Sorry, did you say 1 and 2 teams?
Yeah, the 1 and 2 teams.
3 teams?
Yeah, the 1 and 2 teams.
Oh, yeah, I think the Chargers have a chance to make some noise. I mean, their offense looked really good under Kellen Moore. Unfortunately, they lost Mike Williams, but their offense wasn't the reason why they were losing games. It was because their defense, and one game was against Miami, who we just talked about, who's an absolute buzzsaw, and they just gave up some inopportune explosive plays against the Titans. But I think their defense has a chance to kind of steady itself as the season goes. I don't think they're going to be a good defense, but if they could get around 20th in DVOA, then with that offense, I think they'll have a chance to be good. I mean, I think Justin Herbert is just playing out of his mind right now. That game against Minnesota is one of the best games a quarterback could play. He just made some unbelievable throws. So I think they are a 1-2 team that could make some noise as the season progresses.
There are a few teams like I don't know, and it's so early, Ted, and I'm sure you've crunched numbers lots. Like it's still too early to say for sure about some of the middle teams. They could go either way, and obviously 1 or 2 injuries. But like a team like the Colts and the Saints are 2-1. The Buccaneers, the Commanders. Out of those 4 teams, who do you like the best? Saints, Colts, Bucks, Commanders, and why?
Saints, Bucks, Commanders, and who's the 4th team?
The Colts.
The Colts. I think the Saints, just because they have a legitimate defense. I mean, their defense has not given up more than 20 points since week 8 of last season. So they have a legit defense. Derek Carr's injury is not serious, so he's going to come back. And I think he gives their offense a baseline play with the weapons they have around him, where they could be, a dangerous team to play for anybody. So I think, out of all those teams, the Saints have the best chance of getting to the playoffs and maybe make some noise in the playoffs.
A lot of people, Ted, would say the Jets season ended in the first 4 minutes of game 1 when Aaron Rodgers went down with injury. And, I don't know if you saw the video on the sideline, Wilson basically stating he doesn't think his quarterback can throw the ball. Things are definitely not very rosy in New York. 31-year-old Mr. Simeon is in for a workout. It's likely going to be added to the roster. I'm not sure. Like, what did you think of that decision? Like, that's the quarterback you would go get. Do you think now, supposedly Matt Ryan was on record saying he wasn't interested in going there, and I could maybe understand why. But did you see any other QBs you would have looked at instead, or is Simeon just the best available option?
I mean, there's just not a ton of available options right now. And, there are the old veteran guys like Matt Ryan, some guys connect, Philip Rivers to them. But, I mean, when you look at the Jets offensive line, you need a guy that could move around a little bit. It's one of the worst offensive lines in the league right now. So I could kind of understand why they would want Zach Wilson out there, because he could move around a little bit at least. But, obviously he should not be the long-term answer. This defense is too good to keep trotting him out there. But there's just not a ton of options. I think Gardner Minshew is a guy that may be available later down the line. The Colts keep losing game. If the Colts start losing some games and Anthony Richardson comes back healthy, maybe you could pry Minshew from them with a draft pick. Maybe Kirk Cousins becomes available if the Vikings keep losing games. But right now there's not a lot of guys available. Later down the line, maybe those 2 veteran guys could be on the trade block. And maybe the Jets would be willing to give up a lot for one of those 2 guys, because they need to do something to salvage the season.
Ted, it's early on. It's always excitement in the NFL. We appreciate your time. Thanks for this.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
That is Ted Nguyen from The Athletic. Connor Halley was raising the roof when Ted mentioned the 1 and 2 Chargers as the team that he thinks is better. And I think that's probably fair. I think the Chargers starting 0 and 2. Although Connor was quietly rooting for them to maybe lose just so he could get rid of his coach. But, something tells me the Chargers can easily turn things around and push for a playoff spot easily. Like the season's far from over. You win this weekend and suddenly you're 2 and 2. But the Colts, the Saints, the Commanders, those are teams that like Washington's got lots of reasons why you think, hey, they're all right. But none of their offenses really, to me, the reason why I'm not sure any of them are that good, because I'm not sure their offense can compete with the real competitive teams.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they could be playoff teams. The Saints could win their division, but you just don't like their odds when you're going up against the Niners with Shanahan and the offense they run there, Jalen Hurts and the offense they run up in Philly. I mean, those are 2 they're the top of the class in the NFC. There's other teams that will by default make the playoffs and, be good football teams, but yeah, the Saints, we'll see how they do. Carr is out with the shoulder injury, so they're going to have to rely on, the combination of Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston. I don't think Sam Howell's the guy with the Commanders. I think there's too many questions there, despite, they have built up a pretty good team. It's just there's no one even close to the Niners right now and the Philadelphia Eagles, in my opinion. I mean, the Cowboys' run defense, we've seen them get gashed a little bit. They got to fix that up before they can be taken too seriously. So, yeah, I think it's a 2-horse race in the NFC for the time being.
Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you. Hey, boys, Russell Wilson has a 99 QB rating so far. He's playing pretty well, and that comes from a Raiders fan from Martin. Yeah, but I just look at Denver's second half in week 2, Cons. It was you had that game in hand and completely fell apart, did nothing. Last week against Miami, didn't really do much. So, yeah, the yards, I think he's like 6th or 8th or something, 6th, 7th, 8th in passing yards and 6th, 7th, or 8th in QB rating. And, he's only thrown 2 picks, 6 touchdowns. So he's not playing poorly. But when they've needed him at a key juncture, I don't find he makes the play.
Yeah, I mean, the close game against the Raiders, that's where they needed him. And he, the statistics were okay. And the game against the Dolphins, I mean, they had to pass the ball, right? So your numbers are going to be inflated when you're trailing the entire game. Kind of gets out of the Broncos' game plan, which I'm sure they'd rather run the ball a little more than have Russ do it. He's been okay, but, when their season's gone as poorly as it has, and they've lost in the fashion that they have, heartbreaker to the Commanders, and then getting absolutely demolished by the Dolphins. I mean, there's a lot of problems there in Denver that they got to figure out.
241, Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you on Sports 1440. When we return, we're going to talk a little Ryder Cup. Also, Ryder Cup, but also we're going to combine in an opportunity for your sports teams to have some fundraisers and an event that began last year that will be back this season and was very successful. That's coming up next on The Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Hey, sports fans, we've got a clear choice for you. At Crystal Glass, we provide customers with the perfect glass for any
Stop a train. Call the most experienced HVAC company around with over 45 years in business. Visit wjcools.com today.
At night we ride the mansions of glory and suicide machines, sprung from cages on Highway 9, chrome wheel, fuel injected and stepping out over the line. Oh, baby, this town rips the bones from your back. It's a death.
We continue on, Edmonton's sports leader. Sports 1440. How are you? Jason Gregor, Connor Halley. Gregor Show is always presented by PlayAlberta.ca, and we are coming to you live from the E-Well studio. If you're watching online, you can see the logo right behind me, EWEL.ca. They'll give you more than premium quality electrical products. If you're ready to elevate your project, reach out, and E-Well can help lead to your success. EWEL.ca. Coming up after 3 o'clock, Sean Brown will join us in the studio. We'll talk about Philip Broberg because that's a hot topic amongst hockey fans. And, Sean Brown is a young defenseman. Just learning that position in the NHL is extremely difficult. And Broberg's played a grand total of 69 games. Nice. Now, hasn't played a ton of minutes in those 69 games, which I think is a factor. So games played is one thing, yes, but getting a little bit of ice time can help in situation. And remember, being on a good team is different than breaking in on a bad team. Sometimes as a young player establishing yourself in the NHL, it can be easier on a bad team. Then you get in, you get more comfortable, you feel confident. Away you go. Now, that doesn't always work because I've seen some young players who are on bad teams and they don't have success because sometimes the bad team overplays them and they just get their lunch fed to them every day. And then they look at Arizona, for instance. Look at the success of Anthony Duclair leaving there. Right? He's one. There's lots of others examples. Arizona's had a few of them lately. Young draft picks. If you give players too much when they're not ready for it, they can sink for sure. Now, let's talk a little golf from Cattail Crossing head professional Jason Wawad joins us. Jay, welcome to the show, my man. How you doing?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
We can hear you just fine. Yeah. Hope things are good.
Yeah, really good.
Nice. I want to, I guess, let's start quickly. Are you a Ryder Cup guy? Do you get fired up for the Ryder Cup?
I'll be honest, Jay. Ryder Cup is probably one of the best things for me as a golf fan, for sure. I don't know if I'd put it on the same level as the Waste Management Open, but it's pretty close. I love it. If you're just kind of a new golf fan, or you haven't watched a lot of golf on TV, I would recommend the Ryder Cup as a way to get into that. It's just a great kind of team atmosphere. The crowd is losing their minds, and every match and every shot matters. So it's great.
Is there any matchups you're looking forward to?
Yeah, you know what? I don't think we know them yet. I was looking for the schedules. I know that they come up. They start the 4-ball on the 29th, and it's kind of strategic in how the captains create their groups. Yes. And I don't think that information's out yet. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't seen anything. So,
because I just, for some reason, I was like, wow, hey, it's coming up this week. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it comes out on Wednesday. Some golf nut will know about it, but yeah. I'm always intrigued by it. There's certain guys that just, and it's funny about this tournament, certain formats really appeal to some players better than others.
Yes. Like the 4-ball. So 4-ball, simple. You have two teams of 2. And everyone plays their own ball, and it's whoever has the best score within your team counts for your team. And if your score is lower than the other guys, you win that hole. And it just goes back and forth. So it's really good, especially with the skill that these guys have. It takes a little bit of the pressure off, but not really, because you want to do really well for your country and for your team. So it's a great format. Then they go into foursomes, where it's 2-man teams and they play 1 ball per hole and it's alternating shot. And then the big one when they end up with just singles matches, you versus another player from the other team on the final day, and it's unbelievable. So it usually comes down to that, and it's great.
Jason Watt joins us. Jay, in golf, a lot of it's, showing up with your best at the right time. There was lots of courses that have men's and women's leagues, and they had their men's championships or their women's championships here the last few weeks. And I heard a rumor. I need you to confirm, because when I heard the score, I was like, that can't be right. There's got to be a misprint somehow. Was this score different? But our buddy Gord Shamahorn actually shot a 78.
That is the rumor. That I was not there to clarify or to see every single one of the 78 shots, but he did say he had to putt everything out, and he was 100% within that 78, and there were a couple people that were able to verify it. So I think that did happen. It's amazing. I did not think that was possible. So
okay. All right. Well, I'd like to need to see a check, and that wasn't a handicap, because I'm sure that's got to be his best score of his life. So good for him. I guess he showed up at the right time.
He did. Yeah. Got to give him credit.
Now, for Cattail right now, you guys have 50% off golf Monday to Thursday for the diehard golfers. How's the course playing for, I guess, late fall conditions?
It's in unbelievable shape. It has been all year. This is the best shape we've ever been in. And, we're so excited still to continue to offer this right till the very end. I know last year we were the latest course open. We went till November the 7th.
What?
So for those, November 7th, we were open till last year. That was our final day. It gets a little dicey in the mornings. It can be cold. We don't start till, 10:30, 11, but we were open on November 7th last year. And hopefully if the weather goes well, we'll be doing that. But 50% off. We've had it all year long for the most part. It's been unbelievable. People have enjoyed it. The course is in the best shape it's ever been. And you get a $5 food and beverage voucher with that as well. So you can't beat it.
Now, are you at Cattail Crossing last year? You guys had outdoor golf in the wintertime. You actually construct, because I know one of your owners, Mark, he's big into construction. And so you guys built essentially an outdoor winter kind of mini golf course. How did it go? And are you planning to bring it back?
We are. And it was unbelievable. It was Ryan and I, my associate, had an idea just to make a tiny one out on the ice there with a couple 2x4s and some snow and some water. And Mark got a hold of the idea and thought it'd be a great thing for winter activities because once again, we're a winter club, not just a golf club. So we've got cross-country skiing. There was ice curling. And then there was ice tennis. I'd never seen this before. Guys on hockey skates playing tennis on ice. It kind of blew my mind. I'd never seen anything. And then, of course, our 18-hole mini golf course. We had two design companies build each of the nines. And then it was built, and it was awesome. We had school groups, lots of families and teams, and lots of people came down. I think we had over 5,000 people take it in. So it was a real big success. And we're looking to learn what we had last year and build off that, and excited to look and see what it's going to look like.
And it was at nighttime, correct?
It was, yeah. You could play at any time. We had lights going around the entire course, and you could use even some of the glow-in-the-dark balls that we have. But it was just great. When the weather was great, there was tons of people out. We had a little area where there was a fire going. You could get some hot chocolate and a beverage or two, a hot dog. And it was just a great, something different to do in Edmonton in the winter. So
Jason Waugh joins us from Cattail Crossing Golf and Winter Club. And you guys are a winter club because not only do you have the golf and you have the outdoor golf, you have the massive outdoor ice rink that you have, and you open it up to teams. You have a fundraiser for not just hockey teams, any sort of sports teams. Tell me a little bit about your fundraising options.
Yeah, once again, it's our great ownership. They want to really support the community the best that they can. And, rather than just sponsoring one team for the season, which a lot of businesses do, we wanted to bring in as many groups as we can and encourage you to use the facilities that we have. So it's very simple. If you want to sign up and get a hold of that, you can just get a hold of me. But the details are, the minute you sign up, Cattail is going to give you $300 for your team just for signing up. And then at the end of the season, anything that you or anyone associated with your group spends, and when you come to Cattail, if you come for a dinner, or maybe you host a Christmas party, or you do a team builder or whatever, anything that anyone associated with your team spends, you get 5% of that back towards your team as well. So, even if your grandma and grandpa eat here and they mention your team, that's going to go towards your team. So once again, we've got a great banquet hall that we rent out for different team activities or Christmas parties. We do amazing Christmas parties as well. And then we also have the rinks. We have team meal packages. So if your team wants to do a team meal out, which a lot of teams do, we have great packages for that. And then also any kind of sponsorship that you're looking to hold. We do a lot of pub night sponsorships as well. And so that's something that your team can take a hold of. So once again, just by signing up, you get $300 and you have the opportunity to earn 5% back on anything you spend over your season. So a great program for everyone.
Great stuff. Once again, it's easy to find us. Go to cattailcrossing.ca. Check it out. Should be a lot of fun. Half price golf. And hey, all the golfers are hoping that you will be open till November 7th this season.
So are we, Jay. So are we. Hopefully that will be the case. That's our goal, and hopefully the weather cooperates.
Awesome. Have a good one. Enjoy the Ryder Cup.
Thanks, Jay. Have a great day.
That is Jason Awad from Cattail Crossing. If you haven't tried the outdoor golf, it was amazing. In the wintertime, it was phenomenal. We went and played. We had an absolute hoot at nighttime with the glowing balls. It was awesome under the lights. Like, think about it. One of the greatest parts of playing shinny hockey is when you're outdoors under the lights. Right? It's as a kid, it was just like, oh man, this is big time. And that's really what it is for fun golf. You're outside. It's obviously we went when I think it was like -5. So you know what? Just wearing a pair of long underwear, no big deal. And it was loads of fun. So if you're looking for something different, that's a cool activity. And then, you mix that in with your sports team, whether you got a soccer team, hockey team, whatever, you want to do some fundraising, it's kind of a cool way to do it. So check it out at Cattail. Coming up, Sean Brown will join us. We might have a story about Dante's today on the show. How many of you Connor, do you remember Dante's? Were you old enough to go to Dante's on the West End? Oh God, tilted, killed. What a dud. But, yeah. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, we might have a Dante story. I was chatting last week with Brownie's lovely wife, Wendy. She gave us some really good ammunition for the next few weeks on the show. Can't wait. Look forward to that. He will join us after a Sports 1440 update brought to you by BIE Engineering, your structural engineering specialist. Whether in the process of a rental or building your dream home, BIE can help you out. Go to BIEENG.com.
It's time for a Sports 1440 update.
Big series tonight for the Toronto Blue Jays as they host the New York Yankees at 5:07. The Jays currently sitting in the second wildcard spot in the AL, 1.5 games ahead of Houston, who sits in the third and final spot. Elsewhere around the majors, game one of a doubleheader going right now. Rockies lead the Dodgers 3-1. That's in the bottom of the sixth. Later today, Reds take on the Guardians. The Nationals head to Baltimore. The Royals are in Detroit. Phillies host the Pirates. Red Sox take on the Rays. The Cubbies in Atlanta. White Sox up against the Diamondbacks. The Athletics are in Minnesota. We got the Angels hosting the Mariners in a very intriguing series as the Mariners taking on the Astros. One game in the AJ tonight, Spruce Grove and Canmore taking on the Eagles. That's starting at 7 o'clock from the Canmore Rec Center. And the Canadian national women's soccer team looks to punch their ticket to the Paris Olympics as they take on Jamaica, leading 2-0 on aggregate. That one gets going 5 o'clock on One Soccer. And New York Liberty forward Brianna Stewart was named the WNBA MVP for the second time in her career. In 40 games, Stewart averaged 23 points, 9.3 boards, and 3.5 assists. Coming up in hour 2 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll be joined by our co-host and former NHLer Sean Brown, and we'll be joined by Dave McCarthy from Sirius XM.
This has been a Sports 1440 update.
This is Sports 1440, a Stingray radio station broadcasting on Treaty 6 territory.
Download the free iHeartRadio app and listen to CKJR wherever you go.
Sports betting is now live at playalberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated gambling website. All the revenue from provincial gaming programs goes back into Alberta communities like yours. When you play in Alberta, it stays in Alberta. Learn more at playalberta.ca.
You'll absolutely love the new and app-approved Booster Juice app. Download it today and start earning berry points for app-amazing rewards. Apply your points for all of your Booster Juice favorites for free. From booster balls to smoothies, snacks, and combo deals, even digital gift cards. Plus, receive personalized offers that appeal directly to you. The new and app-approved Booster Juice app. More than just online ordering. Download it today. Details at boosterjuice.com.
What's cracking at Cattail Crossing Golf and Winter Club? Kick off your week with unbeatable savings. Enjoy half-price golf from Monday to Thursday. Elevate your game without emptying your wallet. Book your tee time today. CattailCrossing.ca.
At The Brick, we're not just proud of this city and its rich sports history. We're proud partners of it. The Brick started right here in Edmonton over 50 years ago. And when we're not cheering on the Oilers and Oil Kings live at the game, or the Edmonton Elks under the bright stadium lights, we're in our stores, providing everything you need to cheer them on in your home. The Brick, supporting Edmonton sports teams and fans since 1971, saving you more.
Sports 1440 is thrilled to announce that this Sunday, Fox Sports makes its debut with incredible NFL coverage. Fox will also provide more sports overnights and every weekend with an incredible lineup of talent. Only on Sports 1440.
Full-service provider of heavy haul transportation and rigging at the highest level. Next Gen Transportation.
We're developing new and innovative ways to transport oversized and overweight equipment to remote and challenging locations.
Our Next Gen team leads with a wealth of experience and expertise. But most importantly, we put safety first, so everyone gets home safely.
We also take great pride in supporting our local community programs and teams. Good luck to everyone this season and in the year ahead.
Visit nextgentransportation.com.
They say there ain't no I in team. And maybe so, but a K has a nice ring to it. In fact, 10K is how we roll at the Canadian.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Tuesday edition of the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. Remember, if you are new to it, check the money line. That's a bet, just straight up who's going to win a game or a match without any spread or anything. It is the most straightforward wager, right? Very simple. Straight up. Who do you like? So if you ever see the money line, you're wondering what that is, that's what it is at PlayAlberta.ca. I am Jason Gregor, coming to you live in the eWell studios, and we are joined by former first round pick, former NHLer, AJHL GM, and coach Sean Brown, our regular Tuesday co-host. Brownie, how you doing?
Very good, Gregor. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm really good. How's the is it scouting? Like, as a guy who played pro hockey and then you were coaching and scouting and GMing, can you go watch your son and just watch it as a dad? Or do you have like all this scouting stuff kind of creeping in? How does that work?
Yeah, you know what? I do a little bit of both. It's hard. Sometimes, I think, having, your dad as a former player, I'm sure has its challenges and its benefits for him. Okay. We've actually talked about it. We have a very good relationship on and off the ice. He calls me for a lot of advice. I got to be careful that, he is a talented player. He is young, and you can overcoach too, and you can overload him. So I got to be careful at times that I'm not nitpicking. I think we all have a tendency of pointing out things that they could work on, and kind of zeroing in on that. So
rather than saying, hey man, you're doing this really well, and kind of build their confidence on what they're doing well.
Exactly. So, but it seems to work. He's always been responsive to, what we talk about, which is a sign that, he enjoys it. He does, after each game, call me and looks forward to my feedback. So it's been a nice relationship, but you definitely have to be careful, because I do watch it in a way that I'm always trying to help him get better. Right. And sometimes you just have to let him and let them find their own way and just play. And, I find when I do that at times, you definitely do enjoy it a lot more.
And it's interesting when you say that, because and we're talking, your son plays junior A, and he's a first year junior A player. And the development curve for players, everybody's different, right? If obviously, well, look at little Johnny, what he's doing, you should be doing that. Well, no, you might not ever be able to do that, or you're not ready for that, or there's things that you can do better. And it brings me to Philip Broberg, who, and you're a young defenseman, as a high draft pick who came in, and when you got to Edmonton, they weren't a good team compared to how the Oilers are now, right? And I always talk about being a young defenseman on a bad team is easier. You can get ice time. Sometimes you can get thrown in the deep end, maybe a little bit earlier than you would like. Whereas a guy like Broberg, people are like, wow, look what this draft pick's doing, and look at what that draft pick is doing. And I really don't think that's healthy or fair, because, yeah, they're playing on some bad teams, some of them. And now, not all of them, like Matt Boldy, for instance, but it's a totally different position. And usually forwards, on average, can have more success quicker, at least points wise, than young defensemen can. So when you see Broberg and 69 NHL games, it's 4 years after his draft, and people are like, well, they have to play him because of where he is. And you know what? His future might be brighter than Desharnais. It might be. I don't know. It probably brighter as a left defenseman. I'm not sold to be brighter as a right defenseman, which is probably where he's going to make it now. Where do you come out on Broberg? And I think the Oilers are in a tough spot in how they're going to handle him, because you can't just give him ice time when you're a cup contending team. It's different than when you're a rebuilding team.
Yeah, it is. He's in a little bit of a tough spot, and it's all about opportunity. And like you said, I came into a team in a situation where I was, we weren't, where the Oilers are at right now. They're a cup contending team. So the margin of error for all the players, especially young players, is very small. So there's still that development part where he still needs to have opportunity to grow his game. And it's going to be tough for him to kind of navigate through that. It's going to be tough for the coaching staff to try and, be patient and allow him to play his game and kind of work into his game, knowing that, he's going to make young rookie mistakes. So yeah, it's good and bad. He's got a great opportunity with, obviously, a number of defensemen Nurse, Ekholm. He's got some guys that he can really look up to on the ice and watch and learn like I did. I had Luke Richardson, Boris Mironov. That's important watching, and you can learn. I learned a ton from just being on the ice with those guys and how they practiced, how they played a 2-on-1, how they played a 3-on-2. And I'm sure, he's a sponge just like every young defenseman come in the league. But yeah, it's not easy. If he was on another team, he'd probably get, a different look and probably more opportunity. I think you start to get yourself in a little bit of trouble if you start to look around and start to compare yourself with other players and maybe with what they're getting and maybe, what you're not getting, because no situation is the same. But I think that's part of the maturity, and I think that's part of the staff's responsibility is to, have those that type of communication to, make sure he's in the right headspace. It's funny you talk about Desjardins, and the last couple of days I've heard a lot about, his training and his approach this year a lot of it was mental.
Yeah,
right?
for Desharnais, 100%.
Desharnais. And, that's part of the game that, for myself, I didn't realize, how big of a part of hockey that is until I actually got to the NHL, especially because when you get to the top, everyone skates pretty much the same. Everyone kind of shoots the same. I mean, you can't talk about McDavid and these elite players. They're just, they're on a completely another level. But, when I was growing up, it was always get into the gym, work out, get strong. And no one ever talked about the mental side. Right. And it was a big struggle, and I didn't have anyone and didn't really know what to ask, or I didn't even know quite how I felt or why I felt that way. So it was kind of trial and error for myself to kind of navigate that part of it. So that's been really interesting listening to him and what he did in the summer and to see if he can actually apply that. But that goes throughout the whole league with every player. Yeah. You don't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. Right. And experience is hard to get until you actually get it. Right. So, and I, having a young son and working with a lot of younger players, that's one thing I focus on with the kids. I said, you know what, don't just watch when the kids are doing well.
Yes.
Right. Don't just watch the highlights and listen to the conversations when guys are doing well. Watch the stars and watch the guys as they struggle. Right. And watch how quickly they're able to get out of it. Look at what they say and how they take ownership. Right. And try to, and try and look at, because, I think my biggest thing and a lot of kids, you think you got to be perfect to get to the NHL.
No.
Right. And you don't, but you have this, because you're a fan and you look up to them, you have this idea of, maybe we put them a little, too high up on the pedestal as far as being perfect, but they're not. It's just their ability to get over mistakes and, because you got to be consistent, obviously. If you want to make it, to high levels of hockey, you got to be able to perform consistently, throughout your career. So I think, those are things that I point out to my son, and I send them clips of conversations after a game where a guy doesn't play well and follow that guy, right? And watch what he says, watch his body language, how he acts, and you will learn probably more from that scenario than watching, McDavid highlights. Nothing against that. I mean, he's a, so
well, first of all, most people can't do what McDavid
does.
That so
exactly.
I mean, it's enjoyment for sure, right, to watch. But I see what you're saying, and now McDavid and they've gone through struggles, no question, more as a team. But even him, I think if you look back at some of his early playoff success, McDavid would be like, "Hey, I got to be better," and that's just normal. He's a young player, and even the best player in the world, there's always room to improve, and he's always pushing and he's always challenging himself, and it is, it's interesting. I think for Philip Broberg, much of this season will be about mental more than anything, because I'm sure every young player, I don't care if you're 34, 24, 22, you want more responsibility. You want more opportunity. You want to play more minutes. And if it doesn't happen right away, there's two ways you can go about it. It can get to you. You can get mad. You can get frustrated. And I think, and that's why I want to ask, were you ever mad or frustrated early? And I shouldn't say were you. Of course you were at some point. But how did you move on from that and say, okay, I got to stop before the frustration is going to lead to me? Now I'm tight. Now I'm anxious. Now I'm not happy. So A, I'm Eeyore around my teammates, which no one likes. And then B, the coaches get onto it and well, geez, we're not going to play the guy if he's pouting. So how did you ever have that? And how did you walk through it?
Wow, that's tough. It's going to brings back some memories of, the struggle that it was, because yeah, there's times that, obviously life is good when things are going well, right? I mean, there's nothing better. Everything's good at the rink, everything's good, at home and in your relationships. And when things aren't going well, I mean, sometimes it felt like I had a right-handed stick and had no blade holder in my skate. Like it was just, you just feel like a completely different person. I think, when you're younger, I think it's important for kids to understand, mental preparation, right? You're not just going to learn, what it takes mentally to perform and give yourself the best chance to perform every night, but you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you started at a young age, by the time you get to pro, you kind of have a recipe and a plan of what you need to do to perform and get yourself ready. And then, when you start to struggle, you can kind of pinpoint it to like, oh, you know what? Maybe I didn't get the proper sleep, or maybe it was, the food, or maybe it was, I was, peaked a little too soon before the game, because, you don't want to, with all that mental preparation and, getting hyped up before you get on the ice, sometimes you can, peak too soon. All of a sudden you get on the ice, you're like, holy gee, where did all that energy go? So being able to manage that just takes experience and it takes time. But yeah, it's something that, every good player, like you said, is challenged with it. I think it's just, holding on to when things are going well. I think it's very important when you're playing a good game and you feel good about yourself. It doesn't just magically happen, right? It's a lot of the self-talk and being aware of how you're talking to yourself, what you're saying, and really dial in on the games that you're doing well and feeling good. Focus on that, because we have a tendency, or at least I did, when things weren't going well, you held on to those those situations way too long, and you let the good ones go. Where if it was me knowing what I know now and what I figured out later in my career, I would have let the tough times and the tough plays and situations go and learned more from the situations that were positive. Right. And just tried to really make sure I understood all the thoughts and everything that I was doing to give myself that chance, if that makes any sense.
No, that makes total sense. Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's also important, as you said, to hang on when things are going well, to remember that. Why is it going well? It's not just luck, right? What have you been doing? Keep doing those right things. And so then it's always kind of come back to your base, because I know coaches talk about system. Hey, let's all have a comfort zone that if all of a sudden we're out of sorts here, we just fall back into our comfort zone and we feel confident that the other team, now we can stop things. Then you take that as an individual and you find out, okay, all of a sudden now I'm not, what am I doing wrong? Was I firing 15 pucks after practice every day, shooting on my shot? Because now suddenly I'm missing the net all the time.
Yeah.
We'll go back to doing that, right? So I think it's important to focus on when things are going well, to notice they're going well, be proud of that they're going well, and understand why they're going well.
Because like you said, you touched on it there, like practice is everything.
Yeah.
Right. And so how you practice, if you're not scoring, well, it's usually because you're not quite bearing down and focusing in your practices. Right. So when you start to focus and you bear down on your habits in practice, I've never not seen that player rewarded for it. Right. So spending, it's a lot easier, I found, to spend more time and do extra work on the ice when things are going well than when things weren't going well. Because when things aren't going well, like I said, you start to stay out on the ice longer, you're working harder, but at times it feels like you're pulling a Zamboni, right? And it feels like you're just, you're working, you just can't go anywhere. You just feel stuck, right? Because everything is working against you. So when things are going well, stay out on the ice, do all that extra stuff, because it's easy. You already feel good about yourself, right? And you don't, when your coach is asking you to do extra stuff, it doesn't feel like you're as exhausted and you have more energy. But you know what? It's something that young players, with the help of, like I said, a good veteran group around you, that, you're asking questions or you're watching their behaviors. You got to be a real student of the game, right?
Jason Gregor, Sean Brown with you on Sports 1440. When we return, Dave McCarthy will join us as we go around the NHL. Lots of interesting storylines. We're getting slowly closer every few games. We see some young guys. The Oilers did make a move today. Not a surprise, the day after Bo Akey was sent to his junior club. Brady Stonehouse is also reassigned to junior. He got in his one exhibition game, as did Bo Akey, both young players. You know, the future hopefully is bright for them. But the Oilers, they got the game Wednesday, and they play Friday. I would expect a few more cuts after Friday's game before they head out to Vancouver and Seattle on Saturday and next Monday. We'll come back with McCarthy on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
How exciting is it to have Sports Talk Radio back in Edmonton?
Tie game, bottom of the ninth with a full count. The kick, the pitch. It's high. It's far. It is gone. Walk-off home run.
Yeah, it's pretty much like that. Edmonton Kubota is excited to welcome back Sports Talk Radio, Sports 1440. We'll be dialed in for every minute. Get it done, and then some at Edmonton Kubota. All compact BX tractors on sale with 0% financing for 84 months. Stop by on 128th Ave or visit EdmontonKubota.com.
For a limited time at McDonald's, enjoy the tasty breakfast trio. Your choice of sausage or chicken McMuffin or McGriddles with a hash brown and a small premium roast coffee for $5 plus tax. Available before 11 a.m. at participating McDonald's restaurants in Canada.
Christensen Communities, the name in active adult living. Enjoy retirement living without compromise. At Christensen, we understand that each lifestyle is unique. We're committed to providing choice through optional dining, personal services, recreation programs, and care plans to suit your current and future needs. Enjoy maintenance-free living and build new friendships in a safe, independent community. Large suites with full kitchens and in-suite laundry, on-site amenities, and so much more. Find out more today about our communities across the province at cdlhomes.com.
At The Brick, we're not just proud of this city and its rich sports history. We're proud partners of it. The Brick started right here in Edmonton over 50 years ago. And when we're not cheering on the Oilers and Oil Kings live at the game, or the Edmonton Elks under the bright stadium lights, we're in our stores, providing everything you need to cheer them on in your home. The Brick, supporting Edmonton sports teams and fans since 1971, saving you more.
Hey world, get ready to believe. At Oodle Noodle, we serve up world-class, worldwide flavors in our sweet, saucy, and fiery noodles. We believe in the power of nudes. We've got everything from saucy mac and cheese to sizzling pad thai to so many other unbelievable dishes sure to make you a noodle convert for life. You've got to taste them to believe it. Don't be a skeptic. The proof is in the noodles. Check us out at oodlenoodle.ca. Oodle Noodle. We believe in noodles.
Our cars are our lifeline, and every now and then we need to take care of them too. Cochran's Automotive services your vehicle with pride. When you need to fix it up, bring the whole family fleet. Junior's WRX, Mom's MPV, Dad's 1500, or even Grandpa's old 88. All makes and models are welcome. Trust Cochran's Automotive to professionally repair your family's pride and joy. They've got you covered for Volkswagen diesel timing belts too. Call 780-452-5001.
Trevor is lonely.
Yeah.
So Trevor threw a big party and served salad.
Nobody came.
Mike is also lonely.
Yeah, it sucks, man.
So Mike threw a big party and served Will Hawk beef jerky.
Go Will Hawk! Go Will Hawk! Everybody came!
Will Hawk beef jerky. Because you don't win friends with salad.
Will Hawk is the home of Alberta's best beef jerky.
In Leduc, Spruce Grove, and West Edmonton Mall.
Denim Ford's roots run deep in the history of Central Alberta. Like always, you can experience the same honest pricing and honest service that you've come to expect from all of us at Denim Ford for the past 65 years. Denim Ford is proud to be Canada's only 50-time President Award-winning dealership in customer satisfaction, treating every customer like family. Visit Denim Ford on the world-famous Wetaskiwin Auto Mile or from home at denimford.ca.
Bringing every project to life requires the right team. By joining the Japa Machinery Group service or sales teams, you can be part of setting a new industry standard. Celebrating a legacy of excellence with Japa. Learn more at japamachinery.com.
You know, you make me feel so good inside. I always wanted a girl just like you. Such a purity. Pretty young thing.
Where did you come from, baby? And ooh, won't you take me there right away? Won't do, baby? Tenderoni, you got to be. Spark my need, just sugar fly with me. Don't you know now is the perfect time? We can make it
continue on. Tuesday afternoon, Jason Gregor, Sean Brown with you on Sports 1440. A lot of questions coming in. You can text us on our Jiffy Lube inbox, 833-401-1440. Some good questions. We'll get to those to Brownie coming up in our next segment. But first, we are going to go around the NHL, brought to you by McDonald's. You can enjoy your choice of a sausage or chicken McMuffin with hash browns and a small coffee for only $5 right now at McDonald's. As we welcome back to the show from Sirius XM, our weekly Tuesday contributor, Dave McCarthy. Danger Dave, how you doing, my man?
Good. Got chicken McMuffin, I'll tell you, sounds good right about now. I got to get myself one of those.
Look at Dave. He's got the blazer going. He's got the hat on. Holy cow. He's looking sharp. I like it.
I don't dress up for just anybody, fellas. Let's be honest here. This is a high-class affair. As I learned in Ireland, they would say this is good crack, and that doesn't mean what you think it might mean. It means something entirely different in Ireland.
I like it. Awesome. Also, your beard's like in mint playoff form right now.
Yeah, I know. I got to trim up. I trimmed up before I went away, and I've been back for about 10 days now, and I haven't trimmed in about 2 weeks, so we got to tighten it up a little bit. It's preseason, though. We'll look tight on day one of the regular year.
I see a lot of people right now. It's preseason. Everybody's like, Ottawa Senators, baby. I like everything that they've done, and everyone's excited. And it is preseason. There is some concern, about the health of Josh Norris, for sure. For me, that's a big concern. But what do you make of the offseason of Ottawa, excluding the ownership? We'll get to that in a second. Just when you look at the makeup of their team, have they done enough to be a playoff team in your eyes?
Well, the funny thing is, are we playing the tape from the last 2 or 3 years where I think very similarly, there were a lot of people saying, oh man, look, Ottawa, they won the offseason. Remember last year, Alex DeBrincat, they're going to be something else.
Yeah.
And then by American Thanksgiving, or as they call it in America, Thanksgiving, they were out, right? Because they stumbled out of the gate. So, look, I really like their team on paper, but I got to see it first. I watched them up close last night. Now, they had far from a full complement of players on the ice. There's a lot to like. Look, bringing in Vladimir Tarasenko and Dominic Kubalik in the offseason, I think upgrades them based on where they were last year when they had Alex DeBrincat. If Tarasenko is DeBrincat's replacement, they throw in Kubalik. He's a guy that can score. I like their parts. Their blue line should be better at the beginning of the year than it was last year, by virtue of the fact that they'll have Jacob Chikrin here for an entire season. In between the pipes, they should be good enough. But I got to see it, and it's going to be incumbent on them to start out well in the first 6 weeks of the regular season, because in this Atlantic Division, I'm sorry, fellas, if you build yourself too deep of a hole in the first 6 weeks, it's going to be too difficult to climb out of it, because there are a lot of quality teams in this division that are interested in making the playoffs. Toronto, Boston, Tampa Bay. I do not think Boston, by the way, is going to fall off the map. Florida went to the Cup Finals last year, so they're obviously aiming to kick around. And then Buffalo missed by, a point or two last year. Ottawa, Detroit's made some moves, so I'm not convinced. There 7 of 8 teams are looking to make the playoffs this year in this division. So I do like Ottawa. I think they've got all the pieces there, but I'm going to reserve judgment so I don't get fooled again.
Hi, Dave. I just have a question. With some of the players that have been picked up over the offseason and some of the coaching changes, is there anyone in the NHL that you feel like they need a quick start to the season?
Oh, that's a really, really good question. Quick start to the season. I think Columbus is an interesting case study as well, just because of the fact that Pascal Vincent's been thrown in with no notice. In a year where it did not go well at all for Columbus last year. That's part of why they brought in Mike Babcock initially, because I thought what they had as the complement of their parts in no way came close to the results. So I think they have a better team on the ice. That's why they brought him in, to try to get something out of it. And then obviously what happened last few weeks went the way that it did, and now Pascal Vincent is been thrown in. I do think they have got a team that can at least play some meaningful games down the stretch. And if everything goes well, it wouldn't shock me. Like, if you want a hot take, I could see Columbus being in the mix and squeezing into the playoffs, but it's going to be really difficult given what has happened for Pascal Vincent to come in and get the ship chugging along right away. So, if they get out to a good start, to me, they're the type of team where if they are in good shape come the calendar change in November, then it can kind of become an us against the world type of vibe where the fellas are looking around and saying, look, everyone was counting us out after last year. Everybody was counting us out after how the summer went down. Well, look, we've had a pretty good first 15 games here. We're 9. I don't know why I put myself in a position to do math all the time on the radio. Like, we're 9-4-2, after 15 games. And okay, here we go. Like, we can prove some people wrong this year. But that has to happen. If they stumble out of the gate, I don't see it happening in Columbus. So they, to me, would be a team where it's really important. And certainly you hope for a guy like Pascal Vincent, who's been knocking on the door for a long time, to get a head coaching job, that he has some initial success. And he doesn't become one of these guys that finally gets his shot, but it was in tenuous circumstances, and he never really gets an opportunity to show what he's all about.
Dave McCarthy from SiriusXM joins us. Dave, I think the East, they might have a few top teams, but they have a lot of teams that could be in the playoffs or just on the outside. And it's funny because you have up-and-comers like Detroit and Ottawa and Buffalo. But then you throw in two teams that have, some of the most elite players of all time in Washington and Pittsburgh, who also were on the outside last year. Washington was decimated by injuries, no question. What do you make of those two teams, Pittsburgh and Washington? And do you think Washington can maybe be more competitive than we think? Because a lot of people are thinking, you know what? There's just no room for them. And I can see that argument. Where do you come out on that?
Well, I'm totally with you that the East is so deep. Really, at this point in time, if you told me to place a bet on two teams that would not make the playoffs, the only two teams that I'm confident in betting on are Montreal and Philadelphia. Everybody else in the Eastern Conference, I think, has a chance to make the playoffs if things go right. Now, in Pittsburgh and Washington's case, do more things need to go right than some other teams? Sure. And in the case of just those two teams, I think a lot more needs to go right for Washington than Pittsburgh. Like, if you look at Pittsburgh right now, Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, Chris Letang, Jake Gensel, like, I think they're good players. Erik Karlsson, obviously, are better than Washington's best players. Let's, say Ovechkin, Backstrom, Kuznetsov, Karlsson, John Karlsson. I would pick Pittsburgh ahead of Washington if you made me pick between one of those two teams. The issue is, like, in a different division, if Washington was in maybe the Central Division, could they sniff around and squeeze into a wild card spot? Maybe. But I don't see it in the East, with the depth that there is in that conference. Like, if you look at the Metro Division alone, I see Carolina, I see the Rangers, I see Pittsburgh, I see who else am I forgetting there in the Metro Division off the top of my head? Like, the Islanders, I think, are right on par with the Capitals. And there's one other team. Why am I blanking on them from the Metro Division? Fellas, help me out here.
Columbus, Washington, the Islanders. Who else you say? Devils, Rangers.
Devils, 100%. They're in ahead. So, if you look at Devils, Rangers, as getting in, Carolina, those are my top three. And then I think Pittsburgh's ahead of Washington. Like, who's Washington going to knock out of that to get in? And I still think the Jackets and the Islanders are teams that could make some noise. So, I just don't see a path into the playoffs for the Capitals. I don't think they'll necessarily be a doormat either. I just don't see a path with the depth in the Eastern Conference.
Dave McCarthy joins us in the West, Dave. Lots of people are looking at Edmonton, Vegas, Colorado, Dallas. The Central Division for a long time was pretty loaded. It might be the weakest division in hockey. this year when I look at it. Where do you come out on the Jets? I know, that interesting Dubois trade, they got a lot of depth. Dubois was the best player, but they got three really solid NHL forwards in return. They also shipped out Blake Wheeler. They bought him out, and then he signed for $800 in New York. But where are you at on the Jets? And to me, the biggest question mark is their defense. Like, can their defense, Morrissey had an unreal year last year. Can he repeat it? And can their defense be good enough to keep them in the hunt?
That was funny. We were talking about the Jets the other day down at Leaf Camp with a number of the reporters and just trying to kick around that Central Division. Like, I see Colorado, I see Dallas as being locks to get in. And then after that, I think there is some room for battles. Like, Nashville should be, in the mix. I think that St. Louis could be in the mix. I see the Jets as in the mix as well. Like, here's a hot take. I could see Arizona playing some meaningful games down the stretch. I don't know if they'll get in, but I really like a lot about what Arizona's building right now. And I mean, Logan Cooley really, underscored my opinion with how he played in Australia. Let's not get carried away. It was a couple of exhibition games, but that guy looks like a player. Like, he really does. But so to me, I look at Winnipeg right now. They kind of remind me of St. Louis this time last year, in that if they get out to just a so-so start and they're kind of middling around come January, they've got a couple of guys in Mark Scheifele and Connor Halley who are approaching unrestricted free agency. And if they're not signed by that point in time, I think Kevin Cheveldayoff will have to look long and hard, like Doug Armstrong did last year, about where they are in the standings. And might have to make a tough call, because if Winnipeg is like 4 or 5 points out, 2 or 3 weeks ahead of the trade deadline, like, can you kind of fool yourself into thinking you're in a playoff race? Yeah, sure. The realistic possibilities of getting in, not that good. And then what happens to a couple of guys in Scheifele and Hellebuyck, who I would assume would have a great deal of appeal on the trade market at that point in time. Like, you might have to make a tough call and punt on the season. So, like, unless Winnipeg is really fully, truly solidified in a playoff spot by the trade deadline, and those guys are not signed, Scheifele and Hellebuyck, like, I think it would be the prudent play on the part of Cheveldayoff to make a tough call. Because remember, Winnipeg is not a market that can just watch those guys walk out the door and then turn and point and say, oh, well, look at the cap space we got. Well, that's nice. Now you got to attract somebody to Winnipeg with that cap space. And that's not, no disrespect, not the easiest market to attract guys in free agency. You might want to cash those guys in and get young players under control back. So to me, at this point, if I'm looking at the Jets, they'd be a long shot to make the playoffs.
Hey, Davey, what did you think of that number 18 for the Leafs last night?
Good player. Good player. He's got some speed. He's got some hands. He made a nice play down there below the goal line on the power play to Easton Cowan, who also looks like a player, I'll tell you. Yeah, good-looking player. I don't know. You must produce some good-looking players out to your neck of the woods, Gregor.
That Easton Cowan, though, I will give him credit for a rookie, man. He looked, you know what? Lots of confidence. And it's funny. Brandon Sutter told me these young players come in now, and he's just like, oh, my goodness. They're just, there's almost no fear. And they're very confident and willing to make plays. And, Cowan is obviously going back to junior, but he made a real noticeable impression and, might have earned himself another preseason game.
Not might have. He did. Confirmed by Sheldon Keefe today. He will get another look. He's going to stick around. I just love the way, the guy got a penalty shot early in the game. Real nice play to protect the puck. Didn't score, but he didn't let it faze him. Like, he just got better as the game went on. He continued to carry the puck with speed through the neutral zone. He continued to drop the shoulder and go to the net. Like, he commanded the game out there. And for a young guy, really, really, really impressive. So I think Easton Cowan made quite an impression. I don't think he's going to make the team. Could a number of crazy things happen and some guys get hurt and he gets a handful? Maybe, who knows? But let's not get carried away. But he certainly made a real good impression on the coach and the management last night with his debut.
Well, Dave, you made a really good impression on us with your fashion choices today. Solid work. And we will chat with you next Tuesday.
Okay, boys, be well.
That is Dave McCarthy from Sirius XM. Also might have had one of the best backdrops we've seen as well on the live YouTube channel. And the back's got all the trees around him, looking very comfortable, dapper with the hat. I like it. It's a good look. It's always nice. Yeah, it's kind of, I like that, we can talk to our guests and see them now due to doing the show live on YouTube. So anybody who wants to watch, it's great. But I find sometimes when you look at each other, it's just a little bit more conversational, shall we say.
It's that time of the year where, man, we know that we're going to be hunkered in.
Yeah, get outside,
it's
man.
coming soon. I came here, I was listening to the radio, and they said there's possible snow next week, right? So we got to get outside and enjoy it because we're going to be stuck in here for a while.
Yeah, well, snow in October usually means it'll snow and then melt, hopefully. So we heard from Wawad earlier. I didn't remember, but last year they had the golf course open on November 7th. Like, there was a lot of courses open right till the final week of October, which is amazing. So that would be great. And we still had a good winter for the ODR. I'm a big ODR fan. So we'll come back. We got a lot of texts to get to Brownie. Also, maybe a story about Dante's. That who knew that Dante's was such a romantic place? We'll find out next on the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Hey, sports fans, we've got a clear choice for you. At Crystal Glass, we provide customers with the perfect glass for any job. From home to auto and even commercial, installation or repairs, we're your team. Call 310 Glass or visit crystalglass.ca. Crystal Glass.
PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated gambling website, features a variety of responsible gambling tools such as a time clock, deposit limits, and more. Remember, if you gamble, use your game sense. Visit GameSenseAB.ca to find out more.
Building or renovating, you want to work with someone who sees and understands your vision. BIE Engineering is a family-owned, experienced structural engineering consulting firm serving commercial and residential clients in Edmonton and surrounding area. Homeowner or large company, they'll work with you to help see your ideas through. BIE Engineering can help prevent problems, deliver solutions, and minimize your risk. BIE Engineering. Request a quote for your project today. Visit bieeng.com.
Are you looking for an affordable business, group, or team outing this season? Why not catch the excitement of a game with five-time Alberta Junior Hockey League champions, the Spruce Grove Saints? With extremely affordable group and suite packages available and some of the lowest food and drink prices around, Saints games are the perfect night for your next group event. Get your group in on the action. For more information, visit sprucegrovesaints.ca.
There's two seasons in Alberta, winter and construction. During these days of traffic barricades and slower commutes, GS Construction reminds you those crews are improving our communities. They're rehabilitating and upgrading Edmonton's infrastructure all across the city. When you see the barricades and run into a traffic backup, remember, the crews are there to help. Drive slow and be patient. Help make our city better and join the GS Construction team. See what they're
offer. Visit wheats.com today.
I'm your boogeyman. That's what I am. I'm here to do whatever I can. Be it early morning, late afternoon.
We continue on. Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440. Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, where, of course, you can get involved in the program. You can text us in our Jiffy Lube inbox, 833-401-1440. You can chime in the comment section on YouTube, also on our Facebook page as well. Connor is always managing that, so it's nice. I like it. Lots of questions coming in for Brownie in our early topic, so we'll get to that. And of course, Sean Brown is our big guest of the day today, brought to you by Silent Ice Sports and Entertainment. They've expanded. They now own the JPHL, an academy-style approach for U14, U15, and U18 players with a focus on skill development and education. Learn more at juniorprospectshockeyleague.com. And if you want, hey, Brownie, I was listening to you talk about positivity for kids. As a coach, how do you balance wanting to help them improve by maintaining being positive?
That's a good question.
That one comes from Doug, by the way.
Yeah. You know what? It's, I think anytime you can catch a kid in the act of doing something positive, it's important to point that out. Especially because kids, as coaches, they want to try and impress and show that they're coachable and a good team player. And obviously as a parent, your kids are always want to try and impress us as well. But anytime, you're trying to put them in situations where, if there's something that you are working on, that's part of their game that maybe they're struggling in, I think if you want to see a quicker result is to try and find ways at different times to address, the positivity in that scenario that you've created for them.
Yeah, I think it's good to point out when they do something well, and almost like for me, especially for the younger kids, maybe when it's older, they won't believe in it as much, but I'm coaching 8, 9, 10-year-old kids. And when they do something well, I treat it's like, oh my goodness, that was the greatest. You're crushing it. That is so awesome. And then, you know what? Doesn't, especially because, you try to outline one or two things. You can't give a laundry list of things for kids. It's too much. So, okay, we want passing, we want pressure, whatever it's going to be. And then when someone does it, if you point out that's what we're doing, kids, and then everybody gets excited about it, and away you go. I think that's, and then you could also mention, hey, that was really great. 2 good things. We went to a coaching clinic and they talked about the 3-to-1 ratio. 3 positive, you mix in a constructive criticism. So you go 2 positive, you put the construction criticism in there, they hear it, then you end with a positive. So you're not starting and ending with negative, because if you give them all the 3, you're doing this well, but, well, then usually they only hear everything after but. They forget what was before but, right?
Absolutely.
And so I think it's an art as a coach, because sometimes you get lost, and as a parent, same thing. You get lost in thinking, well, I'm trying to help them, but sometimes you're not helping them because all they're hearing is they're not doing something right.
And every kid is so different
Yes.
too, right? I mean, we all know there's kids that are more open than others. Some kids are quite shy. I mean, it to be honest with you, it took me a little while, to kind of figure out, how to approach kids, how to talk to kids. Cause I felt like, especially at the beginning, when I first started out, I was so passionate and so enthusiastic about what I wanted to teach and how bad I wanted you to get it. Like I wanted it in some cases, probably more than them. Right. So now I'm coming with all this energy and enthusiasm, and they're looking at me like, whoa, and so I was like, ooh, I got to just be careful. This kid's a little bit different than the next kid and my kid. And, so I think that's very important for a coach to understand each kid and maybe how they learn and kind of tailor it to that kid. I mean, there is nothing more rewarding though than when you do point something out or you do find that relationship and how to make it work, and then they smile and you can see them get something out of it. I mean, there's no better feeling as a coach.
Yeah, 100%. That's very, very true. Now, We've been teasing it a little bit. We got a lot of text about Dante's because your wife gave me the version of how you two met. So now I want to hear Brownie's version.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'd like
Dante's of all places, eh?
First of all, I want to thank you for inviting me to. That was a great night. What was that? The Pint.
Yeah.
That was a great night, and of course there was free drinks and food. So you know who's going to show up? Taran Sandwith. Former captain, used to play with him. I got the mic now.
Oh, yeah,
he's nowhere. I don't know where. I don't see him.
Because man, it's like he backed up the bus over a few times.
So this is how this played out actually was quite interesting because we were having a good night just talking about old stories, and then I had to go to the washroom. And so sometime between me going to the washroom and you showing up at the table and Taran being there and leaving my wife alone with you guys, all of a sudden I come back and it's like, wow, I'm just taking digs here. So
I was just the listener of this, very interested because it was hearing the wife's version, and then you're hearing your former captain buddy's version about stuff. It was quite comical.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't know that because it turns out we've got text coming in also saying that you met also Alish Hemsky supposedly met his wife at Dante's. Who knew it was like the romantic place?
Yeah, it was the Oilers.
For the Oilers in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, you know what? It was I think it was like at the beginning of the season, like at training camp, and everything was kind of ending. And we obviously at that time there's a lot going on, and you kind of want to unwind a little bit. So we decided, I think Dante's was pretty new.
Yeah.
I think LaChance owned it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he might have owned it. If not. But anyway, we all decided to go. I wasn't even sure if I really wanted to go out. And it was a bar that
was it like Twist Your Rubber Arm or was
I was I don't know if I wanted to go there. I think I was living downtown. I don't know if I wanted to drive all the way out to the West End. I was kind of hoping something around.
It was always a commitment.
Yeah. So billiard club was kind of my spot. But anyway, I decided to switch it up. There was a little bit of a dress code too.
Yes.
And I think we had played. I went home, I changed, hemmed and hawed about whether I was going to go or not. So anyway, I decided to go in a t-shirt. And we were just having a good time, kind of hanging out. And I noticed Wendy. She was with a friend, and kind of noticed her eyes. And she wound up talking to me. And stupid me, we didn't stay there very long.
Yeah.
So we were all having a good time, but we wanted to switch it up. And so we went to another place called Rum Jungle that I'm sure your listeners are aware of. Lots happened there.
Yeah.
So I'm sure.
Right here in the mall.
Yeah. So we wind up leaving. And so I was chatting with her and I just said, hey, why don't you meet up? We're heading out to Rum Jungle. Why don't you meet us there with your friends? I'll leave your name at the door. And then that was that. And so I thought I was going to catch up with her later on in the night, but it totally got away from me. I totally forgot.
You didn't put her on the list.
I didn't put her on the list, but I wanted to, maybe I was trying to make her work. That was my way of seeing how bad she actually wanted me. So anyway, we wind up going to Rum Jungle, and I forgot to leave her name, but she wound up getting in there anyway. And I met up with her again that night, and she's like, "Oh, you didn't leave my name." And I was like, "Hey, well, I didn't want to admit that I made a mistake." Like I said, I think I probably said, "Hey, listen, let's, how bad do you want me? Let's see." So anyway, it was kind of an odd spot to maybe meet your wife, but it is what it is. And so.
She did tell me a really funny story, Brownie. That, maybe you're like, your dating acumen at that time. You were a young player in the league, so maybe you were a little younger in the dating scene. So I don't know if it was your second or third date or something. And you bought her now I don't know if it was her birthday cake. You bought her a cake, right?
Yeah. How long did you have to sit with her? How much did you get out of her?
Dude, pretty good question asker. I can get stuff out quickly in short time. But is this true? You bought her a cake, and then when she came over, you had already eaten the whole cake.
And she took too long. What
kind of cake was it that you could eat the whole cake?
I'm a huge ice cream guy and a huge Dairy Queen ice cream cake guy.
Okay.
So
So you bought her a cake. What was the reason? Just because? Or did you buy it for her because you wanted to say, "Oh,
I was
this will be
pouring
nice"?
it on. I was pouring it on. I had my A game. That was my A game at that
buying
time.
an ice cream cake.
She probably told you our first date was Boston Pizza as well. She probably threw that out there as well.
She did.
She's throwing me
actually.
right under the bus. Hey, I wanted to set the bar. I
Yeah.
didn't want to set it too high. Are you in
Okay.
it for the right reason?
Yeah. Okay.
Are you in it? Hey,
That's true.
so I had,
Sure.
so I was testing her out, but
Mhm.
yeah, so I bought her a Dairy Queen cake, and I don't know, she was going to the U of A at the time, and probably took too long to come over, and I wind up eating the whole thing. To make it worse, I'm lactose intolerant. That's
Didn't
probably
you know that
that's
going
probably
in?
that's probably she was. I didn't even know that.
You didn't know you were
I
lactose
didn't know.
intolerant.
No, I didn't. I had no idea. And she's like, "Hey, everything okay?" And I was like, so as I started dating her, she was like, "You know what? Let's start watching what you're eating." And next thing you know, she's
So
like,
you're playing in the NHL, no clue that you're lactose intolerant.
"No, well, I mean, I grew up with I drank milk, and especially milk.
Dude, I
being-
love drinking a glass of milk, man.
Well,
it's my favorite. A peanut butter sandwich.
Ontario, we had bags. You guys have?
Oh yeah, we had
you
the
got-
bag milk. Yeah.
Oh, here?
Yes.
I thought no, you guys.
No, we had you would have the bag, you would cut the corner of it,
Yeah,
right? And then you have it in the jug.
yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, okay.
There's a guy at Orders Nation, his nickname is Bag Milk.
I thought that was an Ontario thing.
No, we had bag milk here for sure.
You know, I got two older brothers, and so milk was when you had a fresh bag of milk, it was that was a great day. And I would drink a bag of milk. I drank milk a lot.
Yeah.
You know, probably more than I drank water.
And did you always feel crappy?
No,
Or not
I
really?
never really paid attention.
So it just kind of came
It
as you got
just-
older.
Yeah, maybe it kind of came. And honestly, I struggled at putting on weight.
Okay.
Right. So I ate a ton. I could eat anything. And I just kind of assumed that with my diet and the fact that I eat everything and anything, that was kind of the reason why, maybe that I was that way. But then, like I said, as I met her and she's just like, you know what, let's kind of watch what you eat, and started paying attention to it and making me more aware of it. I realized there, and she realized it's hey, let's.
And this is what, late 90s, early 2000s?
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, it's all sorted out now, but
So you can't eat an ice cream cake, or you can
well,
have one
I
bite?
don't. I mean, at that time, I could eat a whole ice cream
Yeah.
cake because I never had to worry about my weight. I could eat anything. I used to have Sundays before I went to bed. That was one of Don Sweeney, the GM of Boston. He was my roommate in Boston. That was our thing. Was be on every road trip before we went to bed, we'd always order a sundae and have a Sunday before we
from
went to
the
bed.
hotel.
From the hotel,
And those ones are
Room
usually
service.
pretty big.
Yeah, it was it was great. You're sitting in bed, just kind of chatting, have a sundae. He liked ice cream as much as I did. Yeah, so I obviously don't have those habits and eat like that. I can't because I'm not as active right now. I eat less ice cream, but every once in a while I feel the urge to have it.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, when Don Sweeney and I used to have the Sunday, it was actually kind of funny. His wife bought him a candle. A scented candle in our room
To bring on the road?
Yeah, we had that in our room just to make it kind of smell nice. And yeah, it was kind of.
Were you serious? Were you just like, what is this?
Oh, no.
And good for him, because most guys would be like, oh yeah, honey, thanks for the candle. Where is it? It's in my suitcase.
Yeah, no, Sweeney was a great roommate, especially at that time where, like I said, I was married, a little bit older. He was a great guy to hang around with and learn. And, he had obviously a lot of stories for the amount of years that he played in the NHL.
Jason Gregor, Sean Brown with you on Sports 1440. Let's get to a con man. Sports 1440 update coming up in hour number 3 of the show. Struds will join us. We have 5 questions. We'll get more into the Orders Blue line. Broberg, a few other ones. Lots of texts coming in about Broberg to Brownie right after this update, brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. Home with no payments, no interest for 1 year on your furnace or AC. Stay warm or cool all year. LegacyHeating.ca.
It's time for a Sports 1440 update.
Yeah. Big series kicking off tonight out in Toronto as the Jays host the Yankees at 5:07. The Jays currently sitting in the second wild card spot, 1.5 games ahead of Houston. Elsewhere around the majors, you got the Pirates in Philadelphia. Tigers host the Royals. The Rays travel to Boston. Braves hosting the Cubbies. Cards up against the Brewers. The Rockies will take on the Dodgers in Game 2 of their doubleheader. Rockies victorious in Game 1, 4-1. And a big one tonight, Astros in Seattle taking on the Mariners. One game in the AJ, Spruce Groves in Canmore taking on the Eagles. Puck drop 7 o'clock from the Canmore Rec Center. Canadian national women's soccer team looks to punch their ticket to the Paris Olympics. They'll take on Jamaica tonight, leading 2-0 on aggregate. That one gets going 5 o'clock on One Soccer. And New York Liberty forward Brianna Stewart was named the WNBA Player, her MVP award. Second time in her career. In 40 games this season, she averaged 23 points and 9.3 rebounds. Coming up in Hour 3 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll be joined by our old friend Jason Strudwick and ask 5 questions.
This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440, a Stingray radio station. CKJR broadcasts from West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin.
Download the free Stingray music app and listen wherever you go.
For a limited time at McDonald's, enjoy the tasty breakfast trio. Your choice of sausage or chicken McMuffin or McGriddles with a hash brown and a small premium roast coffee for $5 plus tax. Available before 11 a.m. at participating McDonald's restaurants in Canada.
A solid financial plan is made up of more than just investments. Investments are an important part, but you need a more comprehensive approach. Vincent Pearson at Weird Pearson Akel & Associates Private Wealth Management understands that. He can help build a plan that includes retirement, estate planning, personal insurance, tax strategies, and yes, investments. Talk to him today and see the difference a real financial plan makes. Weird Pearson Akel & Associates. Call 780-988-4119 or visit weirdadvisoryteam.com.
Sports betting is now live at playalberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated gambling website. All the revenue from provincial gaming programs goes back into Alberta communities like yours. When you play in Alberta, it stays in Alberta. Learn more at playalberta.ca.
How do we do it? Well, at Leading Edge Physiotherapy, we invest. Our money and time goes right back into technology and training, and it's all designed to get you back into shape. We invest in people, the people who really care, and they understand how your body works. Then they combine their experience, training, and skills to work with you to help you solve your issues, be it pain in the back, neck, arm, shoulder, heel, literally head to toe. Leading Edge Physiotherapy, always taking new patients because we keep fixing the old ones. Life shouldn't hurt. Find us at leadingedgephysio.com.
Sports 1440 is thrilled to announce that this Sunday, Fox Sports makes its debut with incredible NFL coverage. Fox will also provide more sports overnights and every weekend with an incredible lineup of talent. Only on Sports 1440.
Some things just work together. Sticks and pucks, cleats and AstroTurf. Your love for the game and Papa John's passion for better ingredients, better pizza. Nothing pairs with the game like Papa John's. Crafted with signature sauce, toppings, and original fresh dough. They're the champion of pizza. And now you're the champion of winning deals. Just order at papajohns.ca. Use promo code SPORTS20 and score 20% off any regular menu price order. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's. That's Sports20.
There's 2 seasons in Alberta, winter and construction. During these days of traffic barricades and slower commutes, GS Construction reminds you those crews are improving our communities. They're rehabilitating and upgrading Edmonton's infrastructure all across the city. When you see the barricades and run into a traffic backup, remember, the crews are there to help. Drive slow and be patient. Help make our city better and join the GS Construction team. See what they're hiring for on Indeed.com. GS Construction, laying the groundwork for your community since 1974.
Hi, I'm Colin from Cantork. The call letters and studio have changed, yet Edmonton's passion for sports endures. Cantork proudly continues our partnership with Jason Gregor and is eager to get back in the game on Sports 1440.
At jackpotcity.net, you can do amazing things with just one casino chip. Discover a world of incredible casino games with over 500 high-quality online slot games, including the world-renowned progressive jackpot slot Mega Moolah. Play for free at jackpotcity.net and get treated as a VIP 24/7. So visit jackpotcity.net today on your tablet, laptop, or mobile. Jackpot City, a whole world of casino games. 18 plus. Please play responsibly. This is not a gambling website.
Timber! It's September at the Lawnmower Hospital.
And whether you're day call for felling an old oak or making nimble cuts 60 feet up or bucking firewood down to size, Echo Chainsaws provides the power and durability for the toughest jobs. The Lawnmower Hospital has a huge variety of Echo saws, from top handles for climbing or the Farm and Ranch Timberwolf, plus lots of Echo brush cutters, chippers, and shredders for cleanup. Visit lawnmowerhosp.com.
We continue on Tuesday afternoon on Sports 1440. Welcome back. Thanks, as always, for listening in. Also, remind you that coming up, it's getting closer. October 11th is our 5th annual Pizza Pig Out, and we're going back to where it all began in 2019. Our first one was at Molson House. It was awesome because all the pizzerias come. They put all the food out, all the pizzas out on the table, and you can try so many different kinds. Then, of course, COVID hit, unfortunately, and we wanted to continue it to help raise money for kids sports. So we did a drive-in movie with pizza, which worked really well. It was good. A little bit different group because now it's for families with kids and stuff. But, you got certain pizzas, but you would get like a box. And so there'd be, maybe you get 3 pizzas. You didn't get to try as much. So now we're going back because a lot of people said, hey, I like it, but I liked it when they had the opportunity if I wanted to. And the pizzas are small. You can try 6, 8, 10, 12 different types of pizzas and find out which ones you really like. And that's the whole point of it. I think it's a little bit better for the taste testing. So you can go to jasongregorpizzapigout.com, get your tickets. It's on Wednesday, the 11th of October. It's at 6 o'clock. Doors open. Pizza's going to be nice and hot and warm. And we'll have some fun little competitions. You get to vote on things. And it goes till 8. And then we are having a viewing party because, of course, that's the same night as the Oilers' season opener against the Vancouver Canucks. We'll head across the street to the Ice House where we've got lots of space reserved. So get your tickets if you want to have pizza, help raise money for kids sport, which is, of course, the most important part of the night. And then you can watch a little playoff hockey. Bring your friends if you've been there. And if you haven't, if you like pizza, you like beverages, you want to help kids sport, it's a great night. I'll tell you, the pizza is unreal. Every year, there's like some new pizzeria that I haven't heard about in town. They got some sick pizza. So it's going on October 11th. You can get your tickets at jasongregorpizzapigout.com. And ticket sales go until the 6th. So we got about 10 days left. And I think we got about 80 tickets left, which is good. But we want to sell out. Obviously, we make as much money as we can for kids sports. A huge fundraiser. There's lots of kids in need, so you can help them out, and you'll have loads of fun. It's a really good time. And we'll always have a few special guests in attendance that night for you to converse with. So I'm not going to say who. You'll just have to show up and see. But usually it's some former athletes and stuff. So it'll be a lot of fun. Maybe the old lactose intolerant Sean Brown. Maybe he'll be there. We'll see. I don't know. Are you gluten intolerant? Can you eat pizza?
I love pizza. Anyone needs his pizza.
Well,
Thanks. Nice.
They've been in, man. They've been in for sure.
Yeah, Peter, you know what? Peter in Sherwood Park does a great job. I love his pizza. But you know what? I think I would like to come anytime you're supporting it.
Vegetarian nightmare.
Ooh,
right?
Yeah,
So
I'm kind of
I just like the name because it's all meat. They call it the vegetarian nightmare. It's a classic.
Yeah.
So they're in. There's lots of good pizza places they're in. Of course, Papa John's a huge sponsor of it as well. So it's loads of fun. I highly recommend it for anyone. If you didn't get the website, just text us at 833-401-1440, and I can send you the link to get the tickets. And it's a real good time. And this year, they added a little special bonus that if you want, for a little viewing party. It's always fun. More people to watch the first game. Is excitement. The Oilers, obviously most Oilers fans can't stand the Canucks. So an opportunity to open up against Vancouver. Again, this time on the road. So that will happen October 11th. Get your tickets at jasongregorpizzapigout.com. A few more texts coming in. Brownie, I'm curious. I know you do shooting stuff, so maybe it's hard to give tips, but I'm curious. I'm coaching U9 kids, and a lot of them really struggle. What's the best way to get kids to learn how to do a wrist shot? Thanks in advance, Coach Tom.
Actually, Gregor and I were just talking about that in between commercials here. I think obviously because they're young, you have to go through the full mechanics, right? Because as you get older, and you're a little bit stronger, you can, basically just need your hand out in front of the puck and you can use the technology of the stick. But for young kids, a lot of it is hand strength, right? Being able to push down on your stick and your bottom hand being strong enough. You'll notice with young kids when they go to shoot and they follow through, because their hand not being strong enough, the blade of their stick will open up, which loses a lot of the velocity and power on their stick. And that's kind of where, you get that butterfly wobbly shot. So, what, something that Gregor and I talked about is I use Coach's Eye a lot. It used to be a free app. I think you have to pay for it now, but you can just use your phone, right? Put it on video, and that way you're able to slow it down and go forward and back. And, myself being, in the NHL, being a kid, and kids today are very visual, right? So if you can show them, with any type of video device, I think that speeds up a lot of development for a lot of kids.
The other one being visual, though, you can take the bingo dabber, right?
Yep.
And put the line, okay, have a straight line, put your skates up to this line. So I want your feet. So now you look down, they see where their feet should be. And then you can even have another line, as you had pointed out, that says, here's where your backswing should be, not too far out, because then you're going to lose all your strength, closer. And the kids can at least visualize it, because most people, even adults, you're visual learners. If you have that and just say, okay, bring the puck back, and they'll notice right away if their hands are coming too far out, because suddenly the puck isn't on that line.
Absolutely. And so that is definitely a good technique. I mean, if you do get your hands out, you're obviously going to lose a little bit of that power. Whether if you don't have access to a bingo dabber, sometimes you can kind of use your own stick. I think in golf, they have those plastic sticks they kind of put between your legs, or they use it in a very similar way. But as a coach, you can kind of use your stick, making sure you use that as a guideline. They don't get too far either. But basically, it's the old, shifting your weight back and forth, and the proper technique and mechanics is very important for kids at that age, because they need so much of that just to get any type of leverage, on their bottom hand.
It is amazing, though, that once they get it, how quickly they can improve. And a lot of it just comes down to repetition. And to me, I always tell the kids, if you want to improve your shot, because you're coaching, and maybe you get, depending on what associate, maybe you get one, at the most 2 practices a week. And even if you have 2, it's not like you're spending a bunch of time on shooting. So you got to practice shooting off of the ice, in your garage, outside your garage, get a net. I don't care. Get a burlap sack, anything you can shoot against, and just shoot. And because my son last year, I just said, you got to shoot 20 pucks a day. Now, he ended up shooting more than that, but I said 20 because it's not too high of a number. If I would have said 50, he's tapped out before he even starts. Because 20, you're like, well, I can get to 20 and not very hard a time. Then all of a sudden he ended up shooting more, right? And then, I would make it fun. I'd go out there passing the puck or whatever, and his shot improved immensely just from shooting every day. And I didn't critique every shot. I just want him to get shooting. Because eventually he'll figure it out. I'm like, well, what happens when you pull it back here? What if you try to pull it inside? So you change the angle of the shot.
Absolutely. I think everything is about repetition, right?
Yeah.
And so I know that, like, you said, I mean, if kids can start to get that habit and associate practice with fun, and then even more importantly, it's a bonding opportunity for you and your kid. Whoever thought of the green biscuit was a genius. When my son was young, I used to play baseball, throw the ball with my dad in the driveway or in a field or whatever. But when my son was young, I obviously did that as well. But we used to pass the puck, the green biscuit, right? And I would zip the puck to him, and we play games like copycat. So I would pass it to him, he'd pass it back, and he'd have to, he would have to mimic what I'm doing. So he'd pass it to me. I had 2 stick handles on the left side of my body, pass it back. He'd do that, pass it back to me, 2 stick handles on the right side. So we just kind of played little games like that. And then he just associated it with fun. I had fun. He had fun. Little bit of a bonding moment. And then from there, I mean, it's got a little bit of weight to it, right? Then you work on your saucer pass, forehand, backhand. But I thought that green biscuit, if you don't have one, it's a great tool, because like you said, those are things that you can do on your own in the driveway, in your basement.
It slides quite nicely. And you have the shooting one and a passing one.
And so, and then my practices, I just, it was the work to rest ratio is important to find. I mean, you don't want drills where all of a sudden they come back to the line and there's no kids and it's too much, and now they're exhausted and picking up bad habits, or just the enthusiasm in the drills kind of gone. So trying to find that sweet spot of drills where they're working, but they have enough time to rest, but making sure they always have a puck on their stick and they're always finishing with a shot is obviously very important.
Yeah, very, very important. Hey guys, it's hilarious. Listen to Brownie, his wife. I think you're lactose intolerant. What's that? No more bag milk for you. Christopher of the Rose. It's very true. Very true. Hey guys, I'm curious about Broberg. Everybody's so excited about him or disappointed. It doesn't seem to be any middle ground. It comes from Dan. Well, Dan, guess what? Welcome to Sports Radio and Sports Analysis. If everybody agrees, it'd be boring. I'll say this about Broberg. He is still far from an unfinished product. I don't know how good he will be. I know he's Swedish, and so, maybe he'll be like Klefbom. Well, I would hope, to be honest, I hope he's not like Klefbom, because Klefbom had a lot of shoulder issues, and you don't want that. But if you're talking just as a player on the ice, I think they're different. Klefbom was really strong. Like, he was thicker than Broberg is. Broberg, I think, is a better skater. He's a little bit lankier, and I think Klefbom had a better shot. I think Broberg might be a better playmaker, right? And he's a better transporter of the puck because he's a better skater. But Klefbom was incredibly strong. And that's not Broberg's game. And you talked about it, Sean, how you struggled gaining weight, and because not that weight equals strength, but if you're 220 and you're 200 and you're both in great shape, the 220-pound guy just has a weight advantage. He can move you around a little bit easier, right? So when you look at Broberg and kind of his strengths, like, he's in tough because he got Kulak and Ekholm and Nurse. Like, I just don't see an opening. So there is on the right side, but he's battling a guy who's 6'7", who worked a lot on the mental part of his game, who blocks shots, who kills penalties, who fits really well to what a third pair left defenseman is on the Edmonton Oilers. They don't need Desharnais to bring them any points. Sure, they want him to make a 10-foot pass, and he can make a 10-foot pass for the most part. So would Broberg be better suited, even though he's still young, to play 20 to 25 minutes a night in the American League than to play 12 minutes a night in the NHL? What do you think?
That's going to be a tough one. I think it might be time for him to play here. I think just being in this environment and with those types of players on the ice with them every day practicing is going to obviously make him better. Just the environment itself.
Okay.
He's in a tough spot. Like, we touched on it earlier. He's on a contending team. There isn't a whole lot of margin for error, an opportunity for him to really develop as if he would coming into a team that isn't as far ahead or just a different organization at a different time. So he's going to have to, figure out his way, through practice, through coaching, through video. And you know what, how he is today might not what he's going to be asked of today and how to play and how to fit in might not necessarily be the way he's going to be in obviously 2 to 3 years, right? He's almost got to reinvent himself a little bit and be like, okay, how can I get in this lineup and be reliable, get the trust from my teammates, get the trust from my coach that I can go out there and play a limited role defensively, but not make mistakes and be counted on so that I can get into each game, which will help his development. It's not quite his game and where he's going to be, but that's just what you have to do sometimes as a player, right? Is just be like, there's lots of times where, players at the American level or junior players are, top point guys. Well, all of a sudden you get to the NHL or the American League and you got someone that's 25 years old that's done at that, the next level for 3 or 4 years. It's, well, what else can you do?
Yeah.
And if you want to play in the league, you got to be a guy that can adjust and adapt. And I think some of these guys are going to have to, Dylan Holloway is going to be a guy very similar, right? He's a highly skilled kid. I watched on the highlights there against Winnipeg. He was in on the forecheck and has that big hit. Well, that's, he's probably not going to play a heavy, hard game in 3 or 4 years. But right now, some of these guys are going to have to do some things out of character just to add value to the team, to themselves. And that's just where they're at in their career.
Yeah.
And it kind of, I don't want to say it hurts your development, but within that, you got to still develop.
Yeah.
You still got to develop because your time, like this window's right now and, he's hoping to have a long career. So he's got it's not as easy as it looks, and it's always, there's the game within the game that, there's the team game. There's where the coaches want you. It's where you want to see yourself and how you find value in yourself. So it's, it's going to be a mental grind and a little bit of maturity and a whole lot of, where he's going to have to really analyze and really think about, how he's going to navigate this.
Yeah, it's not easy. It was interesting. Tom Brady on his podcast talked about how when he first came in, he got upset because the number one quarterback got like 20 reps in practice. The second stringer got 12, and he was a third. He got like 2. And he'd go and he's like, how do you guys expect me to get any better? I'm only getting 2 reps. The guy said, well, the 2 reps you have, you got to make them the best 2 reps you possibly get.
Yeah.
And he said, so for him, he would go in there and he would try to make his 2 reps enthusiastic and everything. And, it kind of helped him. And so you change your mindset. Okay, I might not get as many, but I got to make them count. So I might only get 4 shifts in the period. I would love to have 8, but I might only get 4. I can't waste my 4. And that's more pressure, but it's also, I'm assuming, changing your mindset. Like in practice, right? I might only get 1 rush against McDavid. Okay, well, I got to go as hard as I can to make sure that the coach says, oh, geez, look at him. He actually did pretty good against McDavid. All of a sudden in a game, if one of the other guys is struggling, geez, I remember Broberg last practice was pretty good against McDavid. Let's try him.
Yeah. So your practice habits, how you carry yourself after, before is exactly that. I mean, you got to remember too, he's in a good spot. You got Dave Manson.
Yeah.
Right. That has been through this, would understand that. So having that guy helping you and a great resource to help you navigate that is going to be very important for his career. It's never going to be perfect for him. I mean, ideally, the more you play, obviously, the more you're going to develop. But it's kind of at a time, for his own development too, where it's like, hey, it's not going to be the perfect scenario. You're just going to have to jump in 2 feet here and away you go. But his practices, his practices will start before and after, because now it's changed too, right? Where now they, load management and, I don't think they skate as much as
No, they don't skate very often. At all.
So it's going to be, it'll be a little bit tricky for him, and he's going to have to, that's where the maturity, to be successful in this game. I've always said to kids, you got to be mature beyond your years.
Jason Gregor, Sean Brown with you. When we come back, Strud's on. Jason Strudwick will join us on the Jason Gregor Show with Sean Brown, presented by PlayAlberta.ca, live on Sports 1440 and Oilers Nation YouTube.
PlayAlberta.ca. Alberta.
Take a chance on me. If you need me, let me know. Gonna be around. If you got no place to go when you're feeling down. If you're all alone, and the pretty birds have flown, honey, I'm still free. Take a chance on me. Gonna do my very best, and it ain't no lie. If you put me to the test, if you let me try. Take a chance on me. That's all I ask.
We continue on. Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440. Thanks, as always, for making us part of your day. You're listening on radio. Maybe you're online. You got the Stingray app, iHeartRadio app, Radio Player, or, of course, you're watching us now on Facebook or Oilers Nation YouTube. So we appreciate it. Lots of different options for you to try to consume the show. And we appreciate all those who give us a little bit of their time every day. It's fantastic. And now let's get to Struds On, brought to you by Action Electrical. 50 years in business, and they have no plans of slowing down. They'll keep expanding and growing. Their solar division just keeps getting better and better all the time. It's actionelectrical.net.
The Jason Gregor Show presents Struds On.
It's the memories. That's what you remember. Memories. It's a bouquet of enjoyment coming in my mouth there. But you know, it's like I always say, HK, who cares?
It's time for Struds On.
Jason Gregor, Sean Brown with you as we welcome in Jason Strudwick. Struddy, how you doing?
Good. What did Brownie bring in this week? Did he bring in some Danishes or croissants, homemade bread? What are you bringing, Brownie?
You know what I brought? A 1984 Vanagon.
He did, actually.
I cruised in here. It was a nice ride. Barely got here.
Oh, yeah. He sends us a picture. I'm hoping it'll make it. I'm just like, is that yours? And maybe we might have to post that actually online. It's a pretty sick photo, actually. So it is good. We did hear, Struddy, that Brownie kind of had similar dating skills as you as a young guy, according to his wife. That's the one thing we've uncovered earlier today. Took her to Boston Pizza on their first date, and then on their second date, bought her an ice cream cake like you love, and then ate it before she showed up.
Okay. No false advertising here. I'm the same I am today as I was then. That's what I tell my wife. You knew what you're getting into. I haven't changed.
Steady as the rain. I tell my wife the same thing. There's not a lot of ups and downs, but it's the same all the time. Trust it. Trust the process.
Well, Struddy, you basically described how every young defenseman would hope his time in the NHL goes early on, right? Just steady. So where do you come out on Philip Broberg? It's early. You know what? He's played 2 preseason games. And what do you take from last night's game? They didn't have a great lineup going in, and I wasn't shocked that Winnipeg won that game and kind of controlled the game for long stretches. What did you make of the overall play, and then specifically Broberg?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, the Oilers didn't have a very strong lineup in there, but if you're a young guy like Broberg, you still have to find a way to maybe not shine, but to look solid, to look strong, right? Because the coaches know when they make the lineup, they're not expecting that lineup last night to dominate the lines that Winnipeg had. But, you can have your moments, right? So, and those moments might be on, a penalty kill. They might be on a face-off play. It might be on defending someone one-on-one or lifting someone's stick. Because those are the small details that coaches are looking for in a young defenseman. Which way your toe is facing. When the puck's behind your net, which way your toe is facing. Are you aware of what's going on behind you? So those are little cues that they're looking for from a young defenseman to see if you're ready to take on a what looks like they want a significant role for him with the Oilers this year.
Struddy, we're probably not the best example of this, but if you look at, I'd say maybe like a Dylan Holloway where, and we've seen this scenario where guys are really good junior hockey players or maybe really good, have really good numbers in the American Hockey League. Do you think these, Broberg and Desharnais coming in, do you think that the coach is just looking for to say, hey, listen, can they be reliable? Can they be simple? Do we have enough trust in them? Because they are at a point right now being a Stanley Cup contender and a team that's going to have a lot of expectations. Is a coach looking at them to play a simple game? That's all they want to see and reliable?
Yeah, they want to know what they're getting out of those guys every night, right? They don't need ups and downs, wild swings. They don't need a young player like Holloway to have a hat trick, every fourth week and then the rest of the time be a minus player. they need to know what they're getting out of you. So the challenge for a guy like Dylan Holloway or Broberg, and I heard you just before the break, and I thought it was a great point, Brownie, is that you have to tailor your game to fit into what the team needs now. That's if you want to play in the NHL. If you want to play somewhere else, then just keep trying to be an offensive player. The Oilers don't need offensive player. They have those guys. They need guys that are fast, get in on the forecheck, can kill penalties, can be physical, can be reliable. Now, that doesn't mean for Dylan Holloway, that's all he can be in the future or even this year. But that's what he has to show right now because they have all those other spots filled. So that the magic or the challenge for Dylan Holloway is to be what the coach or what this team needs, which is a solid, dependable north-south guy that plays physical, but keep developing into what he wants to be, which is a top six forward. And now he might be that now. I'm not sure. He might be that in 6 months. He might be that in a year and a half. But you have to. So what I would suggest is that before and after practice, that's the time for Dylan Holloway or whoever to become the player they want to be. Within the practice time, that's when you show the coach what he wants from you now.
Struddy, where do you come out on Bouchard, Nurse, CC, Ekholm as far, Kulak, I guess, is mixed in there. Is Kulak, CC, Bouchard, Nurse, and then Ekholm, Desharnais, Broberg? Are those the best possible pairing options, or do you think Dave Manson has the luxury of experimenting this year?
Well, I think you have to figure out who you can play with Ekholm, right? Who do you want to be with Ekholm? And I think it all rotates around. Can Broberg be that guy, right? I think that CC is being asked to do more than he's able to. He's not paid like a number 2 or 3 defenseman. I don't think he's ever been one of those. I think he's done an honorable job in that position. I wish myself or Sean Brown would probably think the same thing. We'd have loved to have been able to at least hang in there for long stretches of time, but I don't think he's that guy. So they have 3 right now, 3 guys in their top 4, Ekholm, Nurse, and Bouchard. The 4th is up in the air. I do think that they're praying it becomes Broberg, that guy's able to do it. If not, CC's probably going to be the default guy until they find someone else. And then as far as Vinny Desharnais, I think Vinny just brings something that none of the other guys have. And he's not very fun to play against. I saw in that first game, I thought he was moving better. I think that he's worked a lot in his game in the offseason. I think there's a ceiling on it, but I think he's worked a lot on it. So he brings something that none of those other 6 guys do. And I think that's valued because he takes up a ton of space. He kills penalties, and he's mean. Like, he's a mean guy. And, mean right now sticks out in the NHL because so few players are that. And
they definitely need that. And I think Jay Woodcroft, sees that. I mean, working with kids, it's just hard to find those hard-nosed, naturally mean defensemen, right? And I think there's different times throughout the year. Obviously, there's, over the course of an 82-game schedule, there's definitely going to be injuries, right? And that's going to be their opportunity where I think a Desharnais and a Broberg are going to get their chances. And I think there's going to be times throughout the season, with injuries or depending on the score, there's going to be opportunities to get them out on the ice in certain situations where they can also grow their game. But it is nice as a coach to have basically, Desharnais and Broberg, which are, 2 different players that you can put in at different times of the season and against different teams.
Totally different look. If you're going to play a team that you want to rough up a bit, you put Desharnais in. If you want to have a lineup and you're playing against a team that's maybe a little more skating, then you put Broberg in. But the reality is that they're trying to win a Stanley Cup. They're trying to find the right fit, but they also have a responsibility to organization to try to develop Broberg or figure out what he is. I think I know what he is. I do feel that he's going to be a Jay Bouwmeester type player that eats minutes, skates well, makes a good first pass. Is he ever going to get on the top line power play in Edmonton? I have a hard time seeing that with Bouchard there. I haven't seen a shot that rivals Bouchard's. I don't see a passing ability like Bouchard has. So, okay, so now I'm out of the 1 spot. I'm into the 2 spot in the power play, which is great, but you're getting, pretty short window there. So I think, for Broberg, he's got to kind of figure out that is how I'm going to play. I'm going to defend with my feet hard. I'm going to be in the right places, get up ice, have tight gaps, and hopefully be a better version than Kulak.
Jason Strudwick joins us on the Jason Gregor Show with Sean Brown on Sports 1440. You mentioned Brett Kulak because here's my question to you, Struddy. What does Broberg bring? We know what Bouchard brings. We know the dimension that Desharnais has. Darnell Nurse, Matthias Ekholm. What is Broberg? And is that part of the challenge right now that I don't know what his best dimension is.
Well, I don't know how to characterize him, right? Like it's hard. Like, could you see him be the first line power play? I don't think so. Not here with Bouchard. Is he the best penalty killer? Well, I don't think so that either. So now he's getting zero special teams time, or if any, very little mop-up time, right? So it's insignificant. So that brings your minutes down a lot. I know we've talked about that before with Brownie. That brings your moments, your minutes down already because you're not getting an extra 2 or 3 minutes a night.
Yeah.
So now you're okay. Well, what am I doing? Well, how am I getting this guy out there? Because what is he doing? Well, he skates well and he defends well. Okay, good. Well, he can carry the puck a bit. So I think the challenge for Broberg is to be very solid in all the minutes he plays 5-on-5, because that's really all I see him getting. And then, when there is an injury, maybe he gets on the PK. I don't know if he got on the power play, but maybe he gets on the PK. So that's an extra couple minutes, and he can show you do it well there. But to get ready to play in the penalty kill, when you are maybe killing in the power play in practice, you've got to show him how good you can do it, but also work on your own penalty killing skills. You go into all those penalty killing meetings, so you pick up all the information. Talk to Ekholm, talk to Nurse, talk to those guys how they kill penalties. Because when you get your chance, and it's going to come at some point during the year, he'll get a chance to go on the penalty kill. Again, the power play, I'm not sure that's going to happen unless it's mop-up time. But when he gets his chance, he's got to run it clean and tight. And if he does that, they'll put him out there again. If he doesn't, that chance might not come again for a little bit longer.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Now, you know what? There's 6 preseason games. Tomorrow, the Oilers play the Canucks. The Canucks got absolutely destroyed. Even as a former Canuck, you're probably like, that's a tough preseason game. But, you get down to the final 6, Struddy. We know that, the major cuts, I'm guessing, are coming Friday night / early Saturday morning before they go on that short little 2-game road trip. Like, the opportunity for other guys is dwindling. Like, what did you think of Lavoie and Adam Ernie last night?
Yeah, I think Ernie, we kind of know what he's going to be. I think he's pretty predictable, right? He gets in there and works hard. Bigger guy than I actually thought. He looks kind of big, I thought, out there.
Oh, he's huge.
Lavoie, like, I look at Lavoie, similar to what we're talking about with Broberg. Like, I guess it's not totally similar, but he's not going to be in the top 6. So he's a big body. He's got to use that big body. He's got to lean on other players. And that might not be in his DNA makeup, but that's what the Oilers need him to be. And if he wants to play in the AHL, not like on this organization, he's got to find a way to do that. Because if you look at any potential centers he has, I don't see those centers having the same type of skill that maybe the 1-2-3 center has. So now, they're not going to be setting him up all the time. So, for him, I wonder if someone's coached him up, maybe a friend or his dad or a former coach or his agent, saying, buddy, this is what you need to do now. Because you can't play in the NHL if you're in the minors. But if you're in the NHL, you can move up lines if you get on a team and you just start playing hard and doing your thing. And all of a sudden there's a chance like, you move up and now you're a third liner, right? Then all of a sudden you're a second liner. And the best guy I can think of that would be Matt Cook. I know he wasn't loved very well really anywhere, but this guy, I was at training camp when he was in Vancouver, and this guy, he thought he was a higher, the first 2 lines. And we were roommates, and he said, screw it, I'm going to be the best 4th liner I can. And he came out, he was hitting everybody, irritating everyone, and he made the 4th line. And then eventually got to the 3rd line. I don't know if he got, maybe in Pittsburgh he was the 2nd liner, I might be wrong, but he moved up. And, those are his choices. You'd be a great AHL player or start in the 4th line. So for Lavoie, I'd like him to see that, adopt that mentality that I'm going to use my body. I can shoot and skate when I get a chance, but use my body to be physical, because that's what this team is looking for in that position.
That's very well said, Struddy. I couldn't agree more. I think Lavoie, you have an opportunity, get outside your comfort zone, bang some bodies around, get in some scrum, do something that's noticeable, because you can't just wait to show off your shot, because the truth is you're not going to get a lot of those opportunities as a 4th line guy. It's just the facts. So you got to do some other things to get noticed. And I thought he was okay. He wasn't bad. He's definitely going to play, another 3, maybe 4 more preseason games, but I think he's going to have a little bit more jump in his step, a little bit more urgency if he wants to make the team.
You've got to stand out, and then I've shared this before, but Sean Horkoff told me when he was younger that coach told him every time you go in for a game, do something that makes you stand out. It doesn't have to be a goal or a end-end rush. It can be one face-off, a block shot, a hit, a nice pass, anything that, a good penalty kill, like anything to get you noticed. And if you're just there just filling a jersey, you blend in with everybody else. So I'm watching that game last night, and I'm not going to lie, I was bouncing around between that and the football games. But, who had a moment? Did anyone have a moment in that game? Even when you're down, it's hard. It's hard to show and to stand out, because what is there? Is there really one spot in the forwards for the Oilers? One spot, and you have about 4 or 5 guys who probably think they're competing for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think ultimately it's who kind of stands out and it makes a name for themselves.
Struddy, great stuff, my man. We will chat with you next Tuesday. Have a good one.
See you guys.
That's Jason Strudwick from the Got Your Back podcast, former NHLer, runner-up in Battle of the Blades. There you go. You never got the invite to that, Brownie? Did you want to? You're pretty good twinkle toes. You got good feet. You should try it.
You know what? I think I might have had an opportunity back in the day to do that.
And you said no?
And chose not to do it. Yeah.
I'd be in regret.
It'd be interesting, though, to see what it would actually be like to skate on figure skates.
Yeah.
With that toe pick. I did watch quite a few videos of guys. Ty Domi, I think, was one that was struggling with it.
Yeah. Well, Struddy, hey, look at Struddy, runner up.
Yeah. Well, he's just a natural. Right? Does he still have us on, I wonder? He's just
if he heard, somehow he'll have heard that for sure.
He's an elite athlete.
Yes. We'll return Gregor Brown with you on the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca and Sports 1440 and Oilers Nation. YouTube will return with 5 questions.
Ain't it beautiful? There's electricity in the air. Carrie Dahl here for Volvo of Edmonton, where the Volvo XC40 and C40 fully electric vehicle is now in stock, along with a great selection of Volvo T8 hybrid models. Experience the trusted Volvo quality and technology to power into tomorrow at Volvo Cars Edmonton, Canada's only 12-time Volvo
We are back on Sports 1440. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, Sean Brown. With you, you can text us 833-401-1440 in our Jiffy Lube inbox. You can always send us an email, Gregor at sports1440.ca, Connor at sports1440.ca. Sean Brown is with us, and it is time now for 5 questions brought to you by The Brick. When you buy more, you save more. Shop amazing deals in every department, like 40% off mattresses, and a portion of proceeds will go towards the Children's Hospital Foundation. Check it out right now at The Brick and thebrick.com.
It's time for 5 questions on the Jason Gregor Show.
All right, guys, question number 1. We saw the Heritage Classic uniforms for the Oilers and Flames come out today. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you grade them?
I'm going to have to go 10. I love it. I love the colors, the orange, the blue. I really like the brown gloves, the old school brown gloves, the pant shells. Props to the creators of the jerseys. Year after year, they're always coming up with these creative ideas with these jerseys, and I think it's fantastic.
Well, if you look at the jersey, and like they try to pay homage to the Edmonton Mercury's, and they go back in time, and even if you look where they have the captain, the C on McDavid, it's actually, there's the white line across the chest, and the C's in the middle of it. And I saw some people say, oh man, they can't even get that. But if you go back and look at the original jersey, that's how it was. So things change and they look at different things. But the brown gloves, I agree, they're very old and authentic, and that's kind of the whole point. I actually thought Calgary's jerseys look pretty good as well. I do think, like, the photo they put out with the explanation with McDavid and Kadri, the jersey there doesn't look as good as if you look in the video that they had. So now I'm curious to see how it's going to look motion-wise, because the video, the blue looked a little bit darker than it did in the stationary shot. So I think it might actually look better in motion. You know what? Not every jersey is going to be for everybody, which is totally fine. Not everybody's going to love every jersey, but I thought it was fine. For what they were going for, it was perfect.
Question number 2. How many Canadian teams make the playoffs this year in the NHL?
Okay, well, Edmonton, Toronto are no-brainers. Those 2 are in. I think 1 of Vancouver or Calgary, so that's 3. Ottawa.
I'm going to go with Ottawa.
You'll say 4?
Yeah. I like Ottawa. I like what they've done there. I think DJ Smith's the right guy for that group. That's going to, inspire them. Obviously with all the good young players that they have. And I think you touched on it earlier in the show, like, young players coming in today's game now are way more confident, way more savvy. I think with all their international experience at a young age now, is going to help them with this run, and that enthusiasm, probably that kind of little bit ignorant to the situation that they're actually in, will actually benefit them and help them.
Like they took a step last year. They ended up still not being that close. I think they missed the playoffs by 6 points, which isn't a whole bunch. There will be more points up for grabs in the East this year because Boston, I don't see them taking 135. So they're going to distribute that around. But also, I think that means that instead of being 92 points to make the playoffs, it might be back to 95 or 96. So I have Ottawa right on the cusp. If they can stay healthy, but Norris is already banged up, not already banged up, but he hasn't fully recovered yet. And so that's going to be difficult. He's a pretty prominent player for them. I'll say this. If their defense stays healthy, I will pick 4 teams. So I got to pick 4. I'll pick 4. I will say them. I just don't know if it's going to be Vancouver or Calgary. Calgary, honestly, if they had 17 overtime losses, honestly, I don't think the season could have gotten worse for them. I have more faith in Calgary making the playoffs than I do Vancouver.
Question number 3, a pairing of Nurse and Bouchard for the Oilers. How do you think that would work out in the regular season?
I would like to see it. I think that obviously with Bouchard having, the season that he had last year, the confidence and the experience that he would have got from last year is only going to help him. I think that his offensive awareness and his subtle, smart plays that he does with the puck, is only going to help him and players around him. And just that maturity. I think that with just that year of experience, he's going to be able to adapt and adjust to be able to play with not only Nurse, but other players. The one thing that I wonder if playing with Nurse, the only challenge is Nurse likes to jump up and be active too, right? And I think, to me, I like Bouchard's upside and softness to his game offensively a little bit more than Nurse's. And does that take away if those guys are playing together, right?
Well, I think they're very different because Bouchard's more of a passer. Nurse is a transporter of the puck. So I still think they can play together. The biggest question will be when you play at Darnell Nurse, that means you're going to face tougher competition, right? Like no one in the last 2 years in the NHL has faced more tough competition than Darnell Nurse. And people, Oilers fans, they want to watch. If that pairing does well, everyone's going to say, oh, yeah, it's because of Bouchard, not Nurse. Just like they were incorrectly stating that about Ethan Bear with Darnell Nurse, which is proven to be false. Darnell Nurse last season or 2 years ago was unreal with CC. Last year, Nurse actually had a pretty good season. CC was struggling at times, but Nurse's season was pretty good. I have no reason to believe that they won't be better, especially if Nurse buys into their whole philosophy that less is more at times. Because Darnell Nurse makes a lot of really good plays. Then he would make a real bad one that stood out, and that's the one that a lot of people remember. It doesn't overshadow, though, all the good plays he makes. I have no reason to believe that pairing won't be good. And to be honest, I think Bouchard is probably CC might be a better overall defender, but I think Bouchard's overall game is better suited to play with Nurse in those bigger minutes. And Nurse is much better suited to play bigger minutes than Ekholm at this stage of their careers. To me, it's like Darnell Nurse is a freak as far as how many minutes he can play and stay in shape and his skating ability. And Ekholm's getting older. And Ekholm at times, I thought his foot speed in the playoffs was noticeable as a little bit of a challenge. So I would play Nurse more, which means I'd probably play him with Bouchard to start.
Question number 4. Reports out there that the Raptors are the front runners to land Damian Lillard from Portland. Do you think he'd be a good fit in Toronto?
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me? Damian Lillard is a hell of a player. The problem is, and Pascal Siakam is way better if he's your number 2. He's not a number 1. Damian Lillard's a number 1. And look at how well Pascal Siakam played when they brought in Kawhi Leonard. Right? It was no different than Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry was excellent when he had Kawhi Leonard there. So just like he's really good with Jimmy Butler. So, yeah, if you could get Damian Lillard, are you kidding me? That guy is cold-blooded. He's one of the best shooters, and the Raptors one of the worst shooting teams. So that would be an ideal fit.
I couldn't agree with you anymore. I think anyone that averages 32 points a game and 7 assists is, anyone's going to want him in the NBA. I think with the traction that, the Raptors had and have in Toronto, I think he's an important fit for them.
Final question. Since Henrik and Daniel Sedin celebrate their 43rd birthday today, who is your favorite set of twins? And I'm not talking sports. It could be any aspect of life, even fiction.
I'll go with Ashton Kushner.
Who's his twin?
Michael. He's got a twin.
What?
Yeah. Not many people know that. That's why I went with him. I looked that up before I came. I better be on, but I looked that up before I came.
Yeah, but okay. So his twin isn't, but you just like Kushner that much? All right.
I don't mind. You know what? I used to watch, what was it, his show, Punked?
Well, yeah. I was thinking more of the 70s show, but
yeah.
Okay. I don't really know if I have a favorite set of twins athletically. So I'm going to go probably the greatest set of twins, as Connor said, fictional. I'm going to go with Arnie and Danny DeVito in the great movie Twins.
Wow, that's a good call.
I thought you might go with Kevin and Kate and This Is Us.
Ooh, I did like that show, actually. I liked it a lot. Kind of miss it, but that's a good one. But no, I'm going with Arnie and Danny. Who you got, Cons?
I mean, there's quite a few. I think Rondé and Tiki Barber would be a good answer. You got the Pouncey twins, both playing center in the NFL, but I'll go fictional too. I'm going to go Phil and Lil from Rugrats. Show I used to enjoy when I was a little younger.
Phil and Lil. I don't even know who that. Obviously, we're a little bit different age, clearly, because I don't even know who that. Brownie's shaking his head too. Good. I don't feel old. Yeah. Brownie's like, who? Rugrats.
Rugrats, yeah.
Oh.
Nickelodeon cartoon from my youth.
I thought you were going to go with Mary Kate.
Yeah?
Yeah, I thought you were going to go with the Olsen twins.
A good one.
I looked up that one too.
It was right here. Oh, you love Full House, didn't you, Brownie? You used to watch it.
We had one TV. I didn't get to watch TV. We were outside playing, and we were playing.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Well, did you have Peasant Vision growing up? Did you have cable?
Yeah.
You had cable?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I guess you grew up in town, so For most of my life, we had Peasant Vision. So, Flintstones were a big draw. Three's Company. Big
Three
fan of
Company's
Three's,
good.
Big fan of Three's Company. But yeah, I was never a big Full House guy. Hey guys, are the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles twins? I don't think so. It's a good question. I have no idea. Cons?
I mean, they're brothers, right? I don't know.
They're all brothers? They're like the Sutters of Turtles? I did not know that.
Well, they're all in the same lab, right? When they had the ooze spill on them?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess turtles are from their eggs. There's a whole family of them, I guess. So,
I mean, I guess they could just be in the same. I don't even know what the name is. The cage they were in.
Yeah, I don't know. Quickly, I'll get this, Brownie, before you go. Hey, guys, what's your opinion of Holloway's training camp? Do you think they sent him down to avoid losing Lavoie on waiver since Holloway's waiver ineligible from Stu? I don't think so. I think Dylan Holloway has I've liked his games in both games. Obviously, maybe more in game 1 than in game 2. But Raphael Lavoie, first of all, are they losing him on waivers? I don't know that for certain. He hasn't played a game in the NHL, right? There's lots of guys around the league that are in his boat, coming out of their entry-level contract, that have been in the AHL, that have had some decent numbers, that other teams like, well, geez, we kind of got a guy. Now he is 6'4", so sure, that's some intrigue, and maybe Montreal, but is Montreal going to take him just because he's a French Canadian? Potentially, but I think Dylan Holloway, like Lavoie, would have to really stand out for them to say to Dylan Holloway, man, you had a decent camp, but we don't want to lose Raph. Or we don't want the risk of losing him. I don't think so. Where do you come out, Brownie?
Yeah, I think that Holloway, there's, I think with his experience a little bit being up with the club last year, I haven't been able to see any of the exhibition games, but I think he's at that point too, where it's like, hey, we need you here. And Lavoie, I don't know if he's done quite enough to, you talk about Montreal. If anyone's going to pick him up, it'd be a team like Montreal.
Yeah, a bottom feeder team that says, and lots of guys, just because you can't play on a Stanley Cup contending team doesn't mean you can't play in the league. It's very different.
It's completely different. Yeah. Right. So if there is a chance, it would be a team like that can say, hey, listen, we can grow with you. We're at that point as an organization.
Yeah. Gregor, you're bang on. I don't think those turtles were from the same egg, hence not twins. True. There we go. Brownie, great job today, buddy. We appreciate it. We will chat with you next Tuesday.
Awesome. Heading over to the icebreaker, Twilliger.
Oof.
16 doubles.
There you go. Good luck. Have fun. That's Sean Brown, our Tuesday co-host here on the Jason Gregor Show. When we come back, we got Spec, DVD. We'll get through some fantasy and more. But first, Conman, top of the hour Sports 1440 update brought to you by Edmonton Kubota. Super pumped to have sports talk back in the city, and they're celebrating with a great deal right now. 0% financing for 84 months on all compact BX tractors. Check it out in person or online at edmontonkubota.com.
It's time for a Sports 1440 update.
Big series kicking off tonight for the Blue Jays as they host the Yankees. First pitch gets going in about 5 minutes. The Jays currently sitting in the second wildcard spot, 1.5 games ahead of Houston. Elsewhere around the majors today, one final. The Rockies get past the Dodgers 4-1. That's game 1 of their doubleheader. Game 2 gets going in about 90 minutes. Currently underway, the Reds lead the Guardians 4-3 in the third. Midway through the second, the Orioles on top of the Nationals 1-0. Scoreless between the Royals Tigers, Phillies Pirates, and Mets Marlins. Still to come tonight, the Rays will take on the Red Sox. Braves host the Cubbies. The White Sox will host the Diamondbacks. Cards in Milwaukee. Angels up against the Rangers. Padres in San Francisco. And the big one between the Mariners and the Astros. Just one game in the AJ tonight. Spruce Grove on the road. They're out in Canmore taking on the Eagles. That one's starting just after 7. The Canadian national women's team with a punch their ticket to the Paris Olympics as they take on Jamaica, leading 2-0 on aggregate. That one gets going in a couple minutes' time. New York Liberty forward Brianna Stewart was named the WNBA MVP for the second time in her career. She averaged 23 points, 9.3 boards, and 3.8 assists in 40 games this season. And sad news today, Hall of Fame third baseman Brooks Robinson passing away at the age of 86. Robinson made 18 All-Star appearances over a 23-year career spent in Baltimore. He was a member of the team's World Series victories in 1966 and 1970. Coming up in hour 4 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll be joined by Sportsnet's Mark Spector and Derek Van Diest of NHL.com.
Feel alive, and the world turning inside out, yeah. Floating around in ecstasy. So don't stop me now. Don't stop me, 'cause I'm having a good time, having a good time. A shooting star leaping through the sky like a tiger, defying the laws of gravity.
I don't know about you, but every time I hear this song now, all I think about is Paul Rudd. Remember when he lip synced this on Jimmy Fallon? it was really good. So honestly, that's all I visualize now. That's when you know somebody did a good job. When you think of a song, sometimes good or bad or funny. That was Paul Rudd on Fallon. It's quite good. Welcome back, Tuesday edition, the Jason Gregor Show, live on Sports 1440 and Oilers Nation YouTube, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. It's like Vegas, but from anywhere, even your couch. Experience all the excitement of the casino on your desktop or mobile device. PlayAlberta.ca and sign up as a new player, and you will get a $50 free promo. Use the promo Casino50. Lots of text flying in. Hot topic on Holloway. Hey, guys, why not just waive Fogle? No one's going to claim him. He can come back up later. Sam from Vancouver. Well, I guess you could, Sam, but if you think that Warren Fogel's a better player, then you keep the better player, right? You could do it in theory, yes. But are you 100% certain that a bottom team wouldn't claim him, right? He's going to be a UFA at the end of the season. Now, there's teams that have lots of cap space, right? But they wanted, hey, we'll take Fogle for free. We'll keep him, and then maybe we move him for a mid-round draft pick at the deadline. We got tons of cap space, and we think he can help us. So I think there's much higher chance a team would claim Fogle than they would claim Raphael Lavoie. I'll say that right now. Because not every team is up against the cap. Obviously, none of the top-end teams could take him, but I don't think a top-end team's taking Raphael Lavoie anyway. It's only going to be the teams that have lots of cap space. The Ducks, Chicago, Buffalo, Nashville. Heck, the Detroit Red Wings, Columbus Blue Jackets. Those are teams that might say, hey, we think this guy could help us on a one-year deal, 2.75. He's going to score us 12, 14 goals, can kill some penalties. Yeah, I wouldn't just want to throw away Fogle because you think Raphael Lavoie might be able to play. I think that would be awful, awful asset management for me personally. I would not recommend it whatsoever. Let's get to the spec report now, brought to you by GS Construction. They just want to remind you, as you're making your way through construction zone that's still out there, they're like you, huge sports fans. Be patient. They want to get done as quick as you can so you can get home quicker. GS Construction, as we welcome in Mark Spector from Rogers Sportsnet. And Spec, preseason hockey last night. That was a tough one to slog through to have to watch it. It was like a dog's breakfast in that one for sure, Spec. So I think your dog is accurate about it. Not surprising based on the roster. I'll ask you, who did you like? Who kind of grabbed your eye last night?
I did like Lavoie. I liked what he did. He talked to us, I guess yesterday morning, and he's pretty clear what's going on here. He says, I'm not making this team in the top six. I'm making it in bottom six. And I just listened to Struds, and I can't put it better than Struds in that story he told about Matt Cook. Lavoie's got his head around that. He says, I got to be good defensively. I got to check. I'm not going to make this team a goal scorer. So he gets all that. So I thought he played this rear end off in his own half of the ice. But I also thought when the puck found his stick offensively, he wasn't afraid to fire. He picked up a rebound and fired at Brossoit. Brossoit closed the pads at the last second. He had a wraparound chance that probably goes in 8 out of 10 times. So I like this game. I think he's given – I'll say this to you. He's doing, for a game where the other team had 11 NHL players and Edmonton had 4, and the 4 of the bottom guys on the roster playing. Lavoie managed to show himself well. So did Holloway. Holloway had lots of jump. So those are the 2 guys you expect to be good, and they were both good, I thought. What did you think?
Yeah, you know what? Lavoie, he wasn't great. He wasn't bad. I thought he did some of the things that he needs to do, right? And maybe I'm probably a little old school this Spec. I see sometimes a blow game, there's nothing going on. Like, get in a scrum, get in a face wash, do something. I don't know.
That doesn't happen anymore.
I know, and some might say that doesn't matter. And I don't know. I think, honestly, it does matter still because it gets you noticed. And it's not so much about the scrum leading to a fight. I don't care about that. But if there's a game, there's not lots going on, and there's a guy who's in there and there's always scrums, people are going to be, geez, look at that guy. He was engaged. Right? It doesn't mean that he's playing, but it just gives you where you're noticed. And that you have to make an impression. You have to make an impression. And I thought Lavoie, you know what? Was he one of the better players? He should have been one of the better players based on the roster last night. So that, if he wasn't, that'd be a bigger problem to me. But I guess I thought he was okay. It's the first game. I'll need to see more, though, moving forward. Like, if he wants to win a spot on the team, he's going to have to do more than that.
Oh, for sure. And it's so hard to gauge a game where one team has a mostly NHL lineup and the other has a mostly AHL lineup. It really makes it difficult to gauge a game. It really does. The Winnipeg guys that were supposed to be the best players on the ice, all of them were. Edmonton had 4 NHL guys. Their 5th and 6th defensemen and 2 rookies, Holloway and Broberg, and that's it. That was it. So, how much of an impression you can make? Anyway, we watched the game. We slogged through it. They hung in there for 40 minutes. They got crushed in the third. Time to move on, man.
What did interesting? We'll find out tomorrow, I guess. Maybe Desharnais had a little nick up or something, but they made the last second decision to switch him out because originally Desharnais was scheduled to go, and then Broberg got pulled off the ice, and then he replaced him and went. And so I wonder if the organization just said, you know what, we want to give him another opportunity, or if maybe Desharnais had a small tweak.
I think Desharnais had something. That's what I was told. Nothing real serious, but
no.
Broberg needs all the minutes he can get, and he got a few more last night. Did he do much with them, Jay? I'm not so sure he did much with him.
No, his game isn't one where he'll stand out by not standing out, if that makes any sense, right? Like if you look and Broberg didn't get beat every time guys came down on the ice. You know what? He was very good with his gap control. I didn't see him getting turnstiled anywhere else. And if he completes a few passes, great. I would like him. The one thing I'd like to see more from Broberg is transporting the puck. He can skate. He's a really good skater. I'd like him to take a little bit more aggressiveness and want to get engaged in the rush. If there was one thing that I had to say I'd like to see more from Broberg, that would be it.
Yeah, I think we've got a young player here who's just trying not to make mistakes. And
Fair.
That's not the way to play the game. There's a few sides to this thing, Jay. First of all, he's a first-round pick, and we look at him through that lens. And, there's all kinds of first-round picks out there, pal. There's the Steve Stamkos and the Leon Draisaitl's. Then there's the Andrew Coglianos that pay 1,200 games as a first-round pick, but none of them as a top, or very few of them as a top 6 player, right? What type of first-round pick is Broberg going to play? I'm not sure, but I sure would like to see a guy who's putting it out there a little bit. I'd rather see him make a mistake while trying to do something and playing a not such a quiet game than trying to be the quietest player on the ice, because this guy is a silent player, right? He is a silent player right now. At this age and at this point in his development, I'm not sure I want totally silent. I'd rather see a mistake because of an effort to do something than a guy that's just chilling. And he's chilling pretty hard. I don't know what we got. I don't know what this guy is. Do you know what he is? I'm not sure what he is, man.
No, I mentioned that earlier. Like Desharnais, it's pretty obvious what he is. Bouchard, we know what he does, his best skill set. No nurses. You know what Ekholm is. Kulak and Ceci, but hey, those guys have been in, Kulak's an unreal skater. And the one thing about Kulak, just look at Brett Kulak's last 2 playoffs. That's all you need to know about a guy who elevates his game, plays really well at the most important time of the year, right?
We know what he is.
Yeah, so I look at, Cody Ceci's the one player we haven't talked about, Spec, but if they're moving him down and they're going to play him with Kulak, and now it's a battle of Desharnais and Broberg to play with Ekholm potentially. If Desharnais comes in there and plays really well, that really makes Cody Ceci expendable in a trade.
Yes, okay. I think that's probably fair. I'm not, how do I say? This team isn't every team. This team's trying to win today.
Yes.
And this is why there's cycles in sports. Broberg, in a lot of teams, Broberg would still have lots of time to break into this lineup, and there'd be tons of patience. There's not a lot of patience around this Edmonton Oilers team because they're trying to win today. And
100%.
if they have to sacrifice, there's not a whole season for Broberg to figure this out. I want to say to you that we were having these conversations about Bouchard when he had no awareness in his own zone, remember? And he was, we were wondering, sure, he had a great shot, but we were wondering, where's the awareness? Where's a guy that makes the right play? He's defensively, we're wondering. All of a sudden, he had a good year with Ekholm, and he had his confidence built. He's on the power play. We're not talking about him like that anymore. This guy's a player. He's a top 2 or 3 defenseman in the NHL. So I think we need to remember I think Broberg deserves the same chance. I'm not saying it's going to be a long leash here, pal. If he's not getting it done by November 15th, we're going to be talking about someone else. But I think you need to give Broberg the chance with Ekholm to blossom. Give him a chance. And if he can't do it, he can't do it. It's not an endless rope. But I just remember what guys and myself and probably you, Jay, we were talking about Broberg, and there's a lot of questions, or I should say Bouchard, with a lot of question marks. And all of those answers came to us when you saw him play regularly. I'd like to see if Broberg can answer any of those too.
Well, and I agree with that. And that's why I think it might make a guy like Cody Ceci expendable, especially because if Broberg all of a sudden does take off, right, with Ekholm, then you look and say, well, we can have Vinny Desharnais in our third pair at $762,000 or Cody Ceci at $3.25 million. I don't.
Yeah,
and you look at the style of game they play. Is Desharnais, if you're going to play Ceci in a third pair role, is he that much better than Desharnais?
Well,
is he 4
I'm
times
going to say
better?
this to you. For sure, if Ceci's a third pairing defenseman, he makes too much money. There's nobody listening to the show right now that would disagree with that. That's absolutely true. But if you're trying to win a Stanley Cup and your third pairing is Ceci and Kulak, and you can make that work financially, and you got Desharnais as your 7th guy, assuming Broberg can play here, I think you got a really good team, right? That's a hell of a third pairing. Kulak and Ceci, it's a pretty good third pairing, Jay. And right now, it's more about how good you are than how much you're spending, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm kind of bullish on Desharnais. I'm not, I can understand those who say Broberg's ceiling is higher. I think that's probably fair. But at what point does he reach that ceiling? That's the question.
I'm with you. And a guy like Desharnais, he's not a first-round pick. He's getting nothing handed to him. All he's doing is working his butt off every day. He's found a way to be a defenseman that, as Struds was saying, he brings something that the Oilers don't have. He's smart. He's figured it out. And there should be some reward for that. And you know what? If he beats out Broberg for that job, my hat's off to him. And if Broberg goes somewhere else and has to figure it out in the new organization, sometimes that's just how it works, man.
It's back final week of the regular season in MLB. Your Cubbies kind of tripped up and stubbed their toe a little bit, but they seemingly maybe have recovered a little bit. They've got themselves in a decent spot. And then you've got, of course, the Blue Jays facing the Yankees, and the Jays are in a good spot, but they also get a lot of help because Seattle and Houston and Texas are all playing each other here this final week. And, the Jays then play the injury-riddled Tampa Bay Rays, who they probably will meet in the first round. Things are looking up for both the Jays and even your Cubbies a little bit.
One thing about baseball that's different than hockey is hockey's riddled with 8th place teams that go on these runs, right? It just happens all the time in hockey. Teams from way in the bottom. Once you get in the playoffs, I feel like in hockey, the gap between 1 and 8 isn't near as much. In baseball, I'm looking at the Blue Jays and their pitching staff and their inconsistent hitting. And I'm saying, I sure hope they make the playoffs, but I wouldn't put $1 on them. Would you?
I would against Tampa. You see Tampa, but they got like 6 starters out.
Well, they do. And maybe the injuries will catch up. But to me, there's less upsets in baseball. I'd love to see one because I love my Cubbies, and the Blue Jays are coming in wild card positions, and I'll be cheering for upsets. Don't get me wrong, but baseball ain't hockey somehow, man. The good teams with the solid foundations and the good pitching. Sure, injuries throw it all off. You lose a bunch of starters, okay, Jay, I'll give you that. But when you come in as a first-place team in baseball and you got all the tools, boy, you don't lose too many playoff series to wild card teams, do you?
Not very often, no. Atlanta's starting pitching, although they'll have an extra, a little extra time off. I do say I'm a big fan of the new expanded playoffs and the fact that it's a best of 3 in the first round. I didn't love the fact that the wild card was just 1 game. I do like a best of 3. And so usually I think the better team will win. So I look forward to that.
Take your hat off to baseball. I saw a stat today where there was 6 games that were 9-inning games that lasted 3 hours and 30 minutes this year. 2 years ago, there was like 240 games that lasted that long. Of all the traditional sports, give baseball credit, man. We argue in hockey. Oh, should you be able to ice it when you're shorthanded? Gee, that'd be a big step to take that out. Baseball absolutely changed everything, all for the better. It is a better game today than it was yesterday. It's faster. And I'll tell you what, we never thought baseball would be so non-traditional, but they took the leap, and it's been an absolute success.
100%, man. I would be all for it. You know what? Yeah, I would rather go to the you get a penalty, they score a goal, you stay and you serve the full 2 minutes. I would go if I had to pick between that and not being able to ice it, but I've never understood that, you get a penalty and now you can ice the puck. Doesn't make any sense to me. So
I get it.
I'd be in favor of both of them being changed. And if they could get rid of shootouts and just go extra 3-on-3, I'm all for that as well.
All for it.
Just because you know what? Have a few more guys playing overtime. Who cares? It'd be more fun. You don't have to just play your 4 or 6 forwards. You can play 8. There's lots of other guys that can skate. So we saw that in the preseason game.
Length of game and guys catching flights. They're all taking charter flights now. There's only a couple cities. San Jose is one of them that you have to really hurry, get to the airport so that they don't close the airport and you can fly out. But frankly, how many would last more than 7 minutes or 8 minutes? Not many, would they?
And honestly, if you're playing 5 minutes and there's no whistle and you just keep playing, where they stop after 5 minutes and then they do the time and then they got to go submit their roster. Look at that. There's no chance it's going to be much longer than a shootout.
I'm with you, man.
So yeah, I'm all for it.
We should be running the league, Jason. What the heck?
That's right. We should. See you, Gary. Get out of here.
You beat Gary. I'll beat Bill.
The games would
you're
start
bald. You got to be Bill.
If I was the commissioner, you say 7 o'clock, the puck drops at 7 o'clock. None of this bogus 7-8, 7-12, 7-21. The worst.
And my rule would be they have to have numbers on their practice jerseys. So we go to practice, we know who the hell everybody is.
Suck it up, old man. You should be able to know the players. I love it. Have a good one. That is
right,
Mark. Help the game. That just helps you selfishly. They'd be the worst commissioner already because you're only doing what's self-serving. That's not a good commissioner. It's Mark Spector in the Spec Report, brought to you by GS Construct. Think about it. I think he brings up a great point. Baseball made some massive changes. They got rid of the pitchers hitting in NLL. That's a significant change. Changed the size of the bases. Got rid of the shift, pitch clock, everything. Great. NHL can learn from it, man. There's a few little changes you could make that I think would better the game. We'll come back, talk about a few more of those and more, and get your text at 833-401-1440 on the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca, coming to you live from the E-Well studio, EWEL. They will take care of all your electrical needs.
Recommendations to help you optimize your crop yield and quality while enhancing the health of your land. Co-op. We're all growing together. Here for your farm. Here for your family. Learn more at coop.crs/farm.
Still Snoop Dogg and D.I. Guess who's back? Still doing that shit, Andre? Oh, for sure. Yeah. Check me out. It's still Dre Day, AK. Though I've grown a lot, can't keep it home a lot. Cause when I frequent the spots that I'm known to rock, you hear the bass from the truck when I'm on the block. Ladies, they pay homage, but haters say Dre fell off.
We continue on. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you. Of course, Declan Kluger running everything digitally for Orders Nation YouTube. And by the way, we will pick a subscriber. Declan's going to pick one here, and somebody is going to be going to the game tomorrow, Oilers and the Vancouver Canucks. Be sure to hit the subscribe button. Can win lots of great prizes all year long. A lot of fun. Pretty easy. One click of a button. Doesn't take much. Oilers Nation YouTube. Find it. Subscribe to it. Also, thanks for listening to Sports 1440. We appreciate it. It is time now for the Oil Report, brought to you by Volvo of Edmonton, Canada's #1 dealership in Volvo sales. Why? Because they've got a great culture. Mike Norris at the top, and it just funnels down, and service is one of their biggest priorities there. You can get a lot of good cars, lots of places. Can't always get great service. You'll get that at VolvoEdmonton.com. As we welcome in from NHL.com, Derek Van Diest. And DVD, you got a unique gig now. You're covering the Oilers, but also the Flames and the Canucks and the Jets. And it's been an interesting one because they're all playing each other in preseason. The Flames spank in Vancouver one night. The Oilers and Jets go at it twice. So give me your thoughts on last night's game, and a much different game than what we saw between these two teams on Sunday.
Yeah, it was. And you know what's happening here, Jason? I think we're seeing a lot of teams aren't traveling their veterans anymore. They're traveling their kids. So the kids are going on the road. So it's really imbalanced here. Like their veterans are staying home. They're playing at home against a lineup that probably an AHL lineup. And I think that's what we saw last night, is that the Oilers essentially sent an AHL lineup to Winnipeg, hoping some guys could make an impression. And the Jets had, a lot of their top guys in the lineup. So it's tough to get a good read when that happens. Like, you'd wish they'd send more veterans. I know we talked to Jay Woodcroft about this, and he says, I have to ice a certain number of veterans. But then you looked at that lineup yesterday, I'm like, okay, that must be at home, because on the road, it was basically the AHL team. But so it's tough to get a read. And you saw the other day, Calgary beat Vancouver 10-0. Vancouver didn't send anyone to Calgary. I know there was still 10-0 in a preseason game. It's still 10-0. And you got to wonder, okay, guys, like, not a good way to start the season, losing 10-0. So it's tough to get a gauge, but I think it's more individual players, whether so-and-so stood out or he did well or what they're doing. And I think tomorrow's going to be interesting because we're going to see McDavid and Draisaitl. So it's going to be their first kind of tasting of the water. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I think as you get deeper and deeper into the preseason, then you'll get some guys that are getting cut. You'll see more of the lineups play against each other.
Yeah, the Vancouver-Calgary games are probably going to be maybe the last two that are fairly imbalanced. I expect the Oilers to make some cuts either after Friday or probably early Saturday morning when they'd be announced, and then go on that 2-game road trip to Vancouver and Seattle. It's going to be a little bit of a team bonding, from what I understand. They've got a little team outing that they're going to do. So, I could see them down to 32 guys or something like that. You look at McDavid and Draisaitl, they'll play tomorrow. I expect Connor Brown, potentially we could see him for the first time. And also, I would assume you're going to see one of the Oilers' regular netminders in Jack Campbell and Stuart Skinner. Now, I don't know if they'll go the full 60 and maybe one will start, and then they'll have either Rodrigue or Pickard play the last 20 minutes, and we'll see that again on Friday. But then I would assume the last 4 games is definitely going to be full starts with both Campbell and Skinner each getting 2 of them. I would just have to think. But, you look at McDavid, and Sidney Crosby came out the other day and thinks, you know what, I wouldn't rule out him scoring 170 points. right? And I've seen a lot of people think, well, he can't do 150 again. And I think it's because it just doesn't happen very often. But when you look at the elites of the elite, which I put Connor McDavid in that category, I don't think 150 points, DVD, is unrealistic, considering 2 years ago he was on pace for 153. He's basically had 2 of the last 3 years, 153 points. It wouldn't shock me for him to get 150 again, would it?
No, not at all. And what is that, an average of, just a little under 2 points a game? Like that's something he can do, right? So I wouldn't be surprised at all if Crosby came out and said, well, I wouldn't be shocked if he scored 170. Like, that's a big number, 170. But, like there's a lot, obviously there's going to be a lot of power plays there, a lot of power play points. But I think a lot's going to do with how well Connor Brown finishes. If Connor Brown could finish, yeah, I think there's 170 points there. You think about the wingers that McDavid had before, Jesse Pugliari comes to mind, all the opportunities that they didn't finish, all the chances that they didn't bury. And I think you could see sometimes McDavid was a little frustrated with that when he'd set up a player and you couldn't finish off the job. So you're looking at maybe he left 5-10 points on the table because other guys couldn't finish the play for him. But I think if Connor Brown has that scoring touch, if he finds that groove again, it's going to be tough. He's off for a year. He hasn't played for an entire year. You look at a guy like Brandon Sutter, who didn't play for 2 years, so it's going to take him a while to kind of get up to speed. I think it's going to be the same thing for Connor Brown to get that feel back, to get that touch back, to get back into the speed of the game. But yeah, if he can complete those opportunities, if he can bury those opportunities that Connor McDavid is going to have, he's going to set up a lot of his teammates. If he can do that, then there's an extra 10 points on the table. Why not? Why can't he get the 170? Bouchard's going to score a lot of goals from the point this season with that blast. Tyson Barrie, he ran the point last year for half the season until he got traded. He had a good shot, but he didn't have that big boosh bomb that Bouchard has. So is there going to be a few more points there when McDavid tees up the puck for Bouchard? So there's opportunities there. But I know, and I know, talking to Connor McDavid and talking to Leon Draisaitl, they're not really interested in individual accomplishments this year. They want that Stanley Cup, and I think that's what their focus is. That's what their drive is, and that's what they're looking to do. So McDavid can go out and score 170 points, win another Hart, win another Art Ross, win another scoring title, but he's not going to be satisfied unless they win the Stanley Cup.
Funny thing is about Connor McDavid, last season, he had 59 points, 5-on-5. His second and third years in the NHL, he had 63 and 71. So he's actually, you know what? It's easy to say, hey, McDavid could get up to, 70 points, 75 points, 5-on-5. I don't think that would be ridiculous. And you brought up Connor Brown. I also think, Derek, Evander Kane only played 41 games last year. Yeah. Evander Kane has proven he can finish, right? He had some pretty good goal scoring numbers playing with McDavid, especially the year before and then into the postseason. If Evander Kane gets hot and his wrist is feeling as good as it can be, I know he talked about the sensitivity. It might take another year for that to get back, but if he's feeling good, if Evander Kane only plays 75 games, I think his finishing ability is a lot better than any of the other left wingers that played there regularly. So there's another opportunity 5-on-5 for McDavid to gain some points.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think we saw that in the scrimmage, right? Didn't McDavid set up Kane in a goal in the scrimmage that they had there? So there's going to be a lot of opportunity for him as well. And you're right. If he can stay healthy, if those top six can stay healthy, they're going to put up a lot of points. They're going to score a lot of points, both of those lines, and they're going to score a lot of points on the power play again. It's going to be a 30% power play again. One of those that, they're basically going to start up 1-0. If you take a penalty, you're probably going to end up with a puck in the back of your net. So the points are there to be had. And so I think that's the thing, is they're going to rack them up. McDavid and Draisaitl are going to score a ton on the power play. McDavid's going to score a ton with Kane, with Connor Brown, if he can get up to speed, or, if they put them together, if they move Nuge up to that line, or if they put Draisaitl and McDavid together, if they're losing towards the end of the game. I know Jay Woodcroft likes to do that as well. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity there, and there's a lot of points. And you look at that year that Gretzky had, his 200 points, he had Curry there. He had other guys that he had Coffey give the puck to. He had other guys that helped out and chipped in. He didn't have to carry all the offense. Sometimes he just handed the puck to Paul Coffey and let him go. So I think we're going to see a little bit of that as well, as McDavid's going to be able to set guys up, and then as long as they're finished, he's going to get his points.
And DVD, I'd be remiss not asking, because I know soccer's so near and dear to you, and you've covered it for a long, long time. Don Matheson and them, that they're having a conversation about a women's soccer league. in Canada. We've seen the CPL and, go back to the Edmonton Drillers days. There's been lots of attempts and lots that haven't worked. Obviously, the 3 Canadian teams in the MLS are pretty solid, and there are some pretty solid franchises in the CPL, but it's taken a long time. It's not like an easy fix, an easy solution and an easy path for a pro league, whether it's men or women in a lot of sports in Canada. How do you think a women's league could go? And if there was 1 or 2 things that they have to do for it to be successful, what would it be?
Well, yeah, well, it's interesting to say that. I'm watching the women trying to qualify for the Olympics right now. They're playing in Jamaica. So it's 0-0 after about half an hour. So, but I've talked to a couple of people in this day. I've talked to Stephanie Labbe about this. I've talked to Deanna Matheson a little bit about this. They have to grow their audience. They have to grow their fan base. And that starts at a really grassroots level. So somehow they got to reach out and they got to get these kids, these young girls, these young boys to these games somehow. And that's how you kind of grow your fan base. You have a young son, Jason. I have a nephew. We know that they go to the football games. They go to the hockey games. They don't necessarily know what's going on. They just enjoy being there, and they want to keep going to those games. And I think that's what you got to do when you bring in this women's soccer league, is that you got to reach out to the grassroots community, to the soccer community, and say, we want you at our games. We want to get you there, however it is, whether it's, you do group promotions or you do team promotions or whatever it is. You got to start them young. You got to get them into the wherever they're playing, whatever stadium they're playing, whatever facility they're playing. You got to get them young, and you got to sell that experience so they love it. I know you and I both probably had the same experience when we saw our first hockey game. You walk in the concourse, you walk down that hallway, and the arena opens up in front of you. You're like, wow, that is awesome. We've had that experience with hockey. I've had that experience with football. I took my dad down to Dodger Stadium about 5-6 years ago. He had that experience. He'd never been to a Major League Baseball game before. Comes in, looks at it, goes, wow, that is awesome. That's how you got to hook these kids. And I think from there, you grow your fan base, you develop your fan base. And I think that's really important. So hopefully they have some promotions. They reach out to these communities. They reach out to the soccer communities and get these kids in the stadium and get their parents in the stadium. And I think that's how this league's going to be successful. Hopefully it comes along. Like the Canadian women's national team has a lot of success. When they won the Olympics, a lot of the country was watching that. A lot of the country was watching the World Cup. So there is a market there. It's just a matter of tapping into it and developing it, in my opinion.
DVD, great stuff, man. We will chat with you next Tuesday. Have a good one.
Sounds good. Thanks very much.
That is Derek Van Diest, who joins us every Tuesday on Sports 1440, the Oil Report, brought to you by Volvo of Edmonton. When we come back, some names for you to watch out for. We'll tell you where and when next on The Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Sports betting is now live at PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated gambling website. All the revenue from provincial gaming programs goes back into Alberta communities like yours.
It is time to celebrate Tuesday afternoon, waiver wire day and fantasy football. Many of you got to get in your waiver claims tonight to see who is good, who is not. So let's get to the fantasy report brought to you by Next Gen Transportation, heavy haul transport provider, and they are hiring all positions. Fantastic company. The only one requirement: it's okay to skip leg day when you work at nextgentransportation.com. As we get to fantasy report, Connor Halley joins us. So, Cons, you know what? There's sometimes the waiver wire can be your friend. There are cases though where people, they overreact a little bit too much, especially for fab dollars. But as the injuries mount, do you see anybody on the waiver wire? Like, I guess the big one is for Charger fans or for anybody who owns Mike Williams, who is the best solution on the waiver wire to replace the injured Mike Williams?
Well, I mean, there's a couple names that come to mind, and obviously it's going to be receivers with the Chargers. You got to figure that with him going down, they're going to look to replace that. So Joshua Palmer is probably the immediate benefactor of this one because he's just got that connection with Justin Herbert. They've been together for a few more years. They work together after practice. So I think Joshua Palmer, if you can grab him off the waiver wire in the next couple of days here, I think he's going to be the guy for a couple of weeks. But I do expect Quentin Johnston to take some of those reps as he gets more comfortable with the offense and more comfortable with Justin Herbert. He had the best yards or separation when he was running his routes last week against the Minnesota Vikings. So Justin Herbert wasn't finding him, but he was creating space with those routes. So I think as time moves on, Joshua Palmer is going to have the early return, but the longer the season goes, the more Quentin Johnston gets in there. If you can stash him on your bench for a couple of weeks, I think down the road, he's going to become a pretty good option for the Chargers. And then, obviously, if you have Austin Eckler, he's going to benefit too. He'll be getting more receptions out of this once he does return to the lineup. And he was posting videos on the social media today. He looks like he's back there working out. So I'd expect his return getting closer as well.
As an owner of Austin Eckler, how close?
Well, I mean, that's it, right? It's going to be a little finicky with the ankle. We know there's probably going to be some times where it seems like he's getting close and potentially he's not quite there. I think he's close, though. I think we'll see him this week against the Raiders. Oh, we'll see if he practices. That could change.
Yeah, no, that could change. Okay. Anybody else on the waiver wire?
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, if you had listened to our show in the past couple of weeks, you would have picked up Tank Dell already, and you wouldn't have any problem here. The Houston Texans wide receiver, I think he's the guy Brandon Douglas was very high on. Tried to let us know if you followed his words, and that's a good one. One guy I think that might be a bit of a steal for later on down the road is Jaylen Warren, Steelers running back. I know Najee Harris is getting more of the reps, but whenever Warren is out there, he's putting up pretty good numbers. He's averaging, like 10 yards per touch. So he's making big plays. And I know the Steelers might be a little bit hesitant. Matt Canada, and I don't think Steeler fans love him. But eventually, I think Jaylen Warren with the Steelers will be someone you're going to have to go over. Devon Achan. Achan is the pronunciation we're going with because he did correct the media.
Yeah, he said it's Achan.
Achan. Go with him if you can. I mean, that Miami Dolphins offense looks like it can't be slowed down. I don't think he's a lock to put up massive points every single week.
No.
But he's going to put up good totals, and he's probably going to have those weeks where he does go off just because that offense is so good. Another one you might consider, let's just say if you're in a little bit of trouble with the quarterback position, Jameis Winston. Derek Carr's not going to play this weekend with that shoulder injury, and I'm sure they won't be rushing him back. So maybe Jameis Winston, although he does turn the ball over quite a bit, he does like to push the ball downfield and take his shots. So there could be some upside there. And I know we kind of targeted Russell Wilson earlier on, but he has been putting up big yardage. He's put up the touchdowns here. I don't know if that's going to continue. From what we've seen, it looks like the Broncos are going to have to put up points to win. So that, although it's not a great option, maybe as your quarterback as a real football fan, that doesn't mean he can't be a good fantasy quarterback. Look at Kirk Cousins out in Minnesota.
Oh, buddy, he's putting up huge numbers. Now he's got two pretty elite receivers, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, hey, Russell Wilson has Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton. So he's got they're not the Vikings level, but they are good. And Jamaica taking a 1-0 lead in the game against Canada, Gregor.
Wow. Well, Jamaica has to win by 3.
Yeah.
Right?
Canada's still up 2-1 in aggregate.
Yeah. So, but still, now that's to win the game. If it's 2-0, then they go to, do they play extra? They play extra time first and then penalty kicks, correct?
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Hey, what do you make of Parham Jr.? We got a few questions coming in as a tight end. Worthwhile picking up Parham?
I think so. I mean, the thing with the Chargers is you're always going to get a whole lot of Keenan Allen. and Donald Parham Jr. I think when you get into that red zone, that's where I think he does open up, because Mike Williams, his size, 6'5", he was a guy who could go up and get the ball. He was a really good red zone threat. Donald Parham Jr. 6'8". He has a massive wingspan. And I don't know if you saw the second touchdown he had. Justin Herbert put all he had into that ball to get it in the window. And Parham, my hands would have broke. He managed to hold on. So I think that's going to build some trust, Justin Herbert, knowing that he can put it in there with a little zip, and Donald Parham Jr. has the ability to catch it. The problem is for him, it's not going to be a consistent thing. He's not going to go into be a game plan, 15 looks every game. And Canada looks like just even it up, Gregor. So there you go. Good news for the Canadian women. But
that's how you bounce back, baby. Right like that. Look at Con's getting the multitasking, giving us the live updates.
Yeah, it's popping up here. But
well, it's a pretty big game. It's a big game, of course, for Canada, because this is a qualifier. And well, if they win tonight or they don't lose by 3, then they are going to the Olympics, which they should be as the defending champs. But that just shows you, man, you don't get a free ticket back in.
No, absolutely. I mean, Jamaica, they want to get it done. They've probably heard. Maybe they listened to Andy on the show yesterday talking about how Canada clinched their spot. Maybe they got a little revenge, but it looked like Canada responding very quickly, 6 minutes after the fact. So Canada's got all the pressure here. 6 shots, 4 on target, 62% possession. Looks like they came out to play other than that 1 goal.
Yeah. So no, that's good. Now there are a few other ones, because you get into this time of the season and no, it's not there, but buys are slowly going to start coming around. And I look at defenses, depends what kind of league you're in, right? If you're individual, but if you're just looking at like overall defenses, like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if you don't have them, that's a team to pick up, man. Their defense has been great.
Yeah, I mean, they've got some players on that defense, guys that can get after the quarterback. I mean, I think Vita Vea is the key to that group of the big man in the middle playing defensive tackle, but they haven't invested into it. When they have Antoine Winfield Jr. out there healthy, he's a heck of a football player and great for you. I don't know if I particularly target one team for bye weeks. I usually get to a point in my season where I'm just looking for matchup.
That's fair.
Once you know who the teams that struggle offensively are, and you can find like a decent defense to go with it, I think that's the key to success. I don't think you have to stick with one team necessarily, unless you have a juggernaut. I mean, I have the Niners right now, and I've been kind of sticking with them.
Well, yeah, not going to – it'd be rare to look and say they have a horrible matchup. Now, if they played Miami, then maybe you might be like, well, maybe I don't want to play them this week. But which is funny, because if you had to pick one, Denver or Bears defense, who would you pick this week, considering that they're going up against the other offense?
I would go with the Denver Broncos defense.
You don't like the Bears offense?
No, I really don't. And Justin Field, it almost seems like he's regressed, like he's lost that ability to take off and make plays. And when I look at Denver's defense, when they're healthy, Randy Gregory can get after the quarterback on the defensive side, in the secondary. Sorry, Justin Simmons, if he's healthy and able to go, he's one of the best safeties in the league. Pat Surtain the second, he's an outstanding cornerback. I mean, he is left on an island, so there's gonna be times where he's gonna get beaten and taken advantage of out there. But I think he's a heck of a player, and just overall, I think that the Broncos defense, after what they went through, I think you're going to get a motivated group. At least I hope you do. And I just don't have that much confidence in that Bears offense, to be totally honest with you, which hurts because I am a Justin Fields fan.
Yeah, it seems like it's been a little bit of a step back.
Yeah, it's weird.
For that entire offense this year hasn't been good. Tomorrow, Oiler fans, if you're going to the game, and I guess we'll announce the winner. We'll send them their tickets. We'll announce the winner. I don't know if Declan picked the winner yet or not, but we'll find out. Oh, we did? Cons, who is it?
Dr. Gonzo.
Dr. Gonzo.
Yeah.
Hey, Gonzo. Does he have a big schnoz? Is that the name? I'm curious. Doc Gonzo. I like it. So Dr. Gonzo is a subscriber at Oilers Nation, and he's going to the game tomorrow night. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl will make their preseason debut, and maybe Connor Brown. We'll find out. Might be a good chance to see him tomorrow in a game. We'll see. You won't see Ekholm. You won't see McLeod yet, but you might see McLeod starting to skate and practice with the team. So that's a good sign. He is getting closer for the Edmonton Oilers. And you know what? Now he's going to have to get back. I don't think they would play him on Friday, Saturday, maybe Monday, right? That would give him, you get McLeod and he could play 2 of the final 3 preseason games. Should be all right. Ekholm, that's the other one you're a little bit, What's happening with that comb? So they said, now he said in his own words that he didn't think it was that serious. And maybe it isn't. And maybe they're just being ultra cautious, a little bit older of a player. He would probably need, I would think, 2 preseason games to feel pretty good. So that they got some time before that happens. I want to thank all of our guests today on the show. If you missed any of them, go to the podcast, anywhere you get your podcasts. Also, you can check out individual interviews at jasongregor.com. Great lineup, as always, by the Con Man and Slate Dog. Big shout out to Sean Brown in studio, Dave McCarthy. We had Struddy, DVD, Mark Spector, also Jason Wawad from Cattail Crossing. If you're a sports fan and also a golf fan, pretty great deals there. Check it out, cattailcrossing.ca. On behalf of Connor, I'm Jason Gregor. Let's get to our final Sports 1440 update, brought to you by Roger Weir and his team at Weir Pearson Akel & Associates Private Wealth Management, helping business owners and professionals build, protect, and enjoy their wealth. Earn more now and give Roger and his team a call, 988-4119. Good night.
It's time for a Sports 1440 update.
Major League Baseball tonight, the Jays in action. Big series taking on the New York Yankees. Bottom of the third, that one currently scoreless. Elsewhere, Phillies and Pirates scoreless. The Royals lead the Tigers 1-0 in the fifth. The Orioles up on the Nationals 1-0. That also in the fifth. And the top of the fifth in Cleveland, Guardians have a 7-5 lead over Cincinnati. Rays lead the Red Sox 3-0 in the third. And the Cubbies up on the Braves 2-0. That's in the bottom of the second. Still to come tonight, you've got the Rangers taking on the Angels. Giants host the Padres in a big one as the Mariners take on the Astros. Also, game 2 of the Dodgers-Rockies. Game 1 had the Rockies victorious 4-1. One game in the AJ tonight, Spruce Grove and Canmore taking on the Eagles. Town gets going at 7 o'clock from the Canmore Rec Center, and the Canadian national women's soccer team looking to punch their ticket to the Paris Olympics as they take on Jamaica. They were currently leading 2-0 on aggregate right now, just about to get to halftime. That one tied at 1 apiece. The New York Liberty forward Brianna Stewart was named the WNBA's most valuable player for the second time in her career. She averaged 23 points, 9.3 rebounds, and 3.8 assists in 40 games. And sad news is Hall of Fame third baseman Brooks Robinson passed away at the age of 86. Robinson made 18 All-Star appearances over a 23-year career spent exclusively with the Orioles. He was a member of the franchise World Series teams in 1966 and 1970. We are done for the day. Carius and Douglas back tomorrow. They'll be joined by Paul Bissonnette.